Well, I'm glad.
Yeah, no, my friend says there's no sound either.
Hold on. We'll get there. It fucking reset all my...
Oh, it reset all the presets.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah, but... Okay, so there should be a Vishal, and there should be a... Say something, Vishal.
Hello.
Thank you, everyone.
They're saying we're here. Hello.
Yay!
Hello. Sorry about that. Windows audio is terrible. I mean, not that it's any better than Mac, but you'd think in the year of our Lord 2021, someone would have figured out how to do decent audio, but
I mean, no.
On an operating system.
Nope. All right. Well, hello, everybody. Thank you for joining our stream. We had to set things up. I have this really cool thing I get to press buttons on, so we have a stream.
Do we want to do like a proper...
Yeah, no, I was going to say, welcome to, I mean, this is our first stream, so I don't know the form. We're messing around with the format, so it's just,
Oh boy.
Joe, stop. My friend, yeah. My friend is going to go off of the chat.
Our friend Joe does a bang on perfect, Nick Jackson answering the phone from telemarketers impression.
Yes.
And it's kind of unsettling, honestly.
But in any case, welcome. It is, I don't know. I like this format.
It's Thursday. You know what that means.
It is Thursday. It's not the normal week. We didn't put it out earlier this week. Full Gear is happening this week. But I'd like to welcome you to This Week in Wrestling. Wow, my phone just died. My name is Charlie. I run things around here, pronouns? I guess. Yeah, my pronouns are he, him. He, they, if you're so inclined. Like I said, I run things around here, but I don't really run anything because it's a group effort. So welcome to the Twitch stream. And Mikey's next to me.
Hi, I'm Mikey Z. I am a writer with Comics XF and also streaming tech guru, apparently. And yeah, my pronouns are he, him. I'm on Twitter at quantum ... and I'm here to talk about some wrestling, some wrestle boys, some wrestle days, and women, and some slobber knockers. I don't know where I was going with that.
Okay, JR.
Is your phone sitting on the wire?
It might be. I got it. No.
Okay.
Well, while they're doing their thing, I'm Vishal. I'm very bad at talking about myself. I've been playing a lot of video games recently, but otherwise I watch a lot of wrestling, like maybe too much.
Yes, inhuman amounts. Vishal was the man who actually went ahead and speedrun the G1 this year.
I watched it over 3 days. It was a lot.
Yeah, so that's a lot.
Yeah.
Very good at taking in a large quantity of information. We are perhaps waiting on another of our cohorts to join us, if that so happens to be the case. I have a button I can press for that. But anyway,
semi-professional streamers here.
Yeah.
We got not one, but two key lights. One of them lives on Charlie's desk though, because they're actually a pain in the ass to move around. So we got a stream cam, which is an upgrade.
No,
I didn't have any that. Of that. Okay, so it's a funny story that we'll tell before we get into it. So Charlie had a HD 1080p webcam that he bought. I had a Logitech C920 from when I was streaming, like regularly. I wouldn't say full time, but like 3 days a week I was streaming back at my old apartment. And so they bought this and they're like, yeah, I'm gonna do stream. I don't even know when you got it.
I got it like months and months and months ago, maybe a half a year ago, when you know the world was shut. No, yeah, it was a while ago because I was like, I'll get this because we're all going to be talking on Zoom for the next 1 million years.
Oh yeah,
so I might as well have a nice webcam for it.
Yeah, so he thought he was buying a Logitech.
No,
it was not. And it looked fine. Like Charlie's done a couple streams now. It looked fine in the little tiny box that you see, like tiny box in the corner while streaming completely legal and free wrestling matches.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is then I'm like, okay, well, let's turn 1080. Charlie was like, I did makeup really nice. I want to show off this key light. So we put that sucker up to 1080p. And when you know it, You look like someone out of Sin City.
It was like really washed out. It
really
was like
washed out, really pixelated, really sharp but fuzzy at the same time.
Yes.
And one of the cats had chewed on not the lens cover but the outside of it. And so Charlie was just got so upset and was like, I'm gonna buy the best camera that I'm gonna go all out. And I'm like, well, the problem is if you want to go all out, the best streaming camera is a camcorder. And Charlie goes, no one uses camcorders in
2021. I was wrong.
You're right, and you should say it.
Well, apparently the camcorder is the I'm making a video essay thing of choice.
It's the Sony Handycam. It has like a HDMI out, and that's how people get the real high def video. It costs like, what is it, like $1,000?
Yeah, supposedly. Yeah,
it's not supposedly. I looked it up.
Well, no.
And then Charlie's like, that's too rich for my blood. I'm gonna get this Logitech thing that has good reviews, and I'm looking at the pictures, and it's for content creators. So that's what we have.
Yeah. It's working very nicely.
I just want to respond to a comment that says trying to utilize the Yujiro skips. Don't skip Yujiro's matches at this G1. He actually tried for once in like 20 years. Let him have it.
Yujiro, yeah, as
more like 5 years. I'm being a little mean to Yujiro now, but still.
Yeah, no, it's
do skip all the Chase Owens matches though if you ever want to watch G1 Climax 31.
But don't tell him you're skipping them on Twitter or he'll come at you.
Or a podcast that
or in a podcast
he listens to apparently
randomly. Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna be honest. If Chase Owens gets mad because he listened to this and heard me say that, I'm gonna take that as a win. You hear that, Chase?
Chase Owens glitch removes him from the game. That's what Chase says. Yes, that's true. But aside from the little story, so what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the unfortunate bits of news that happened because we didn't get to cover it. Then we're going to talk about whatever's going on in WWE, and then we'll talk about
briefly
AEW and then Full Gear as we come into Saturday.
I don't want to put Vishal in the unfortunate position of having to read out the recaps again, since none of us, I don't think...
I mean, I'm just going to read through them and call out anything that sounds vaguely interesting.
Yeah, but we're not going to, like, belabor it.
Sure, yeah. But, yeah, starting with the downers, first of all, we'll talk about Mox, who admitted himself into inpatient care for alcoholism rehab, which I think everyone can say it's a very, very brave thing he's doing. Hope everything goes well for him. Everything goes well for his family. There's not much more to say about that. I'm very glad with how AEW has handled the whole thing. Yeah. It's been very respectful from everyone involved.
Yeah. I know for Mox sharing that stuff, like he was never going to share that. So I'm glad that like he had Tony as a vector to like just talk about what was going on and just the way that they talked about it. And, you know, the stuff that Punk said last week, that was good. Interesting. Like, you know, when something like this happens, I don't really like that integrated into kayfabe like at all. And it really wasn't. It was very much standalone. Like when Punk talked about it, he kind of like drew a line in the sand. He's like, okay, we talked about this and, you know, everything that great that Mox is doing for himself. And then we'll skip into the wrestling mode. So I really appreciated that. I'm glad that like it wasn't like Eddie coming out and talking about, you know,
like Eddie talking about Mox. Yeah, involving that in the feud because it didn't really need to be.
No, it didn't have any like that wasn't the reason they were feuding anyway. So there was no reason to drag it in there. So good.
The other shitty thing that happened while we were between episodes is WWE released, I believe, 17 people, 18 people.
Well, to be clear, it wasn't shitty that Mox did, you know, it wasn't shitty that Mox did that.
Mox doing this isn't shitty. It's just a bummer that it got to a point where he
had to
this
do
kind of help.
Exactly.
And we're all very glad to see. You understand what we're saying.
Alcoholism and stuff like that sucks. Like alcohol.
Yeah. The actual shitty thing, another downer thing that happened was the releases. Which, okay, I'm just straight up, I'm beyond the point of being like, oh no, WWE releases, this is horrible, because there are options for anyone, not anyone, there's a few people on the list I want to mention. Catalina, what's her name? The Chilean
Catalina
wrestler.
Cortez, I believe.
Yes.
The
Catalina
Chilean
Garcia.
Garcia.
Yeah, she was Chilean. She came to the US through WWE and now is being essentially forced to move back in a month because she won't have a job.
Yeah.
And I think that is disgusting.
Yeah, and I think the thing that's important to say, like, I saw a lot of our friends and some other people being like, this is an easy win for Tony. He needs to just make it happen for her. You don't understand how visas work if you're saying that. Like, and I appreciate the desire to have, like, we need a good guy in wrestling that can come and fix this. Unfortunately, because of how United States immigration law works, you cannot just swoop in and do that. WWE put her in the position where her visa was expiring within 30 days. Because I also don't believe, like, you have a stay of your visa is for as long as it is. Like, your visa can be revoked, but that's like a different thing. I can't imagine, like, she's been working in good standing at this company. I don't think that happens. Like, the Iconics had a couple months to figure stuff out. They had their full 90 days. But Catalina doesn't. She has like
30 days
less than a month.
That's how the NXT system is.
Right. Yeah. But that even that notwithstanding, her visa, like, for whatever reason, it could be even shorter than that 30 days. We don't know the exact date. But basically what happens is when you're employed by one company, they submit a request for a work visa, and that your employment is conditional for that visa. And it's actually a violation. Like Speedball Mike Bailey, the reason why they were banned from coming and working in the United States for 5 years is because of a visa violation. They were working with, I believe it was MLW, to try to get, or no, Evolve, to get like a permanent work visa or semi-permanent work visa. But then they came in to work a show, or no, so CZW was sponsoring them. They wanted to work an Evolve show where they were up for the championship. So they got someone to like sneak them through the border, the Canadian border, and work the Evolve championship match.
Sounds like a bad choice.
U.S. Immigration and Border Patrol found out and banned Speedball Mike Bailey from entering the country for 5 years. And I don't know if you know anything about the Canadian wrestling scene, even the indies. It basically is none. There's no paydays. There's very little televised work. It's all local circuit. Like, the reason Don Callis can get away with manipulating the information in kayfabe of that is there's really no records of that entire scene. So it's not like it is here in the United States. So if Tony Khan were to step in and try to intercede or give her a job, that would put her in potential violation of the visa. I believe the way it works, it depends on the class, but you have to go home to your home country and then submit a new request for a new work visa to come back to the United States. You can't stay in the United States to get another work visa. Well, that's my understanding of it. So all of this
visa aside, we don't need the lesson about it. Thank you for the information, but we're not the U.S. Embassy.
It's complicated.
It is, and it's complicated.
It is, but all that needs to be said is it's very shady that WWE put her in this position.
Yes,
but pretty much everyone else, I'm beyond being like that upset about it. Beyond just general frustration with WWE as a company.
And Joe in the chat says that's like 70 plus wrestlers released this year. Yeah, it is. Mm-hmm. It's a long time coming, unfortunately. You don't just hoard talent to keep them from signing other places, and
but it's also getting to a point where this isn't even cutting talent they've hoarded. This is something's happening with WWE.
BFAB is a brand new talent. Hit Row just got brought up to the main roster. Although with the way NXT 2.0 structured, there's no reason she couldn't have stayed there and continued to work as part of Hit Row across the brands. Like that was the whole reunification structures, and NXT 2.0 was a true developmental system for Raw and SmackDown, right? So why release her to the point where you had to spend man hours of some variety cutting her hit row out of their entrance, the thing that made them so iconic in terms of their entrance? It's just it's completely, it's just mind-boggling.
It doesn't make sense, and it never will.
It's weird. There's some reports, don't know the truth behind them, that several people of the cuts were released because they weren't vaccinated.
Yeah.
Which is a legitimate problem. You can't go to a Saudi Arabia show if you don't have the vaccine.
But
for example,
even though they're completely
legitimate problem.
Well, so even though they're completely in their legal rights to release someone due to refusal to get the vaccine or vaccination status, I don't believe that should be the only reason someone should be let go, right? Like and it's not like they have to do that. They could put someone on administrative leave. Of course, if they do that, we'll never know if it's public. But at this point, also, I kind of refuse to give WWE the benefit of the doubt, right? Like,
I'm not gonna be mad about the vaccination stuff just because it's also a better position than a lot of other better companies have taken about the whole thing.
Yeah.
Even if it's born in a place of greed, it is what it is.
Yeah.
The main thing is that Keith Lee, Mia Yim, Ember Moon, and some others that are Harry Smith. Like Frankie Monet, or Taya Valkyrie, as we can call her again, finally.
Thank God.
Oni Lorcan.
Like,
Lucha House Party.
Who wanted to go? Who wanted to be let go?
Yeah. Like, there's a lot of really good wrestlers who, once their 30 to 90 days are up, have a lot of very good places to go now. This isn't something where, it's going to be a little hard to make sure you have a paycheck once that contract runs out.
Yeah.
But it is possible. This isn't a year ago when there were no other shows.
Yeah.
When there was just AEW.
Although I do think it's worth being said too, I don't want to cape for people not doing not getting vaccinated, right? But I think if someone was not going to get the vaccine, if like Seth Rollins or Brock Lesnar, if Brock Lesnar says, I'm not going to get the COVID vaccine, obviously he probably did to go to Saudi Arabia. But if someone of that caliber, like, they would find a way to make it work within reason, right? Like, persuade him or whatever, so that they didn't have to release him, I believe. WWE does what they want to do when they want to do it. But like Keith Lee, Mia Yim, you know that they're not refusing to get the vaccine. Like, Keith Lee battled back from having a horrible case of COVID and after effects, right? So it's just like, I'm glad they're free from the WWE system, but like, it didn't have to be like
it's this. Always for me personally, it's always not like this.
Yeah.
I mean, my opinion is that it's better like this than a year of Bearcat Keith Lee.
Yeah,
another year of Mia Yim not appearing anywhere.
Yeah, and just sitting and catering. Yeah.
So that's my thing. Is a lot of these people, like Lucha House Party, very vocally were like, I want to be released. FTR, before they left WWE, were very vocally like, I want to be released.
Yeah.
And a lot of people won't be vocal about it, but are in a better place when they're not shackled to WWE.
I mean, you can see, like, I think one of the most stark things I've seen in the last month or two, since All Out, obviously since Brian came over, was just how watered, like, and maybe Brian was a special case just because of like his injury status, but I don't know if it is across the board, just like what kind of wrestlers they want you to be over there, and versus like what kind of wrestler you are. So like with Keith Lee specifically, they were slowly stripping away anything that like made Keith great. Like the fact that he was this like bigger guy, but he could do all these moves. Same thing with like someone like Kevin, who I don't think they've shackled as much. I mean, and you know what? You're not going to know until you see Kevin Steen outside of WWE, you've gotten used to it. Like, you've gotten used to like what Kevin does in the ring. And you're not going to know until he moves outside that system. But just like what WWE wants in a wrestler isn't a wrestler. It's a character, quote unquote. And it sucks. They'll get through it. It sucks for the people that have to take the extra time, like people that aren't from the country. It sucks that people uprooted their lives to go to Florida, to live in Florida, and now what? Why?
Very pettily, it's fucking hilarious that Karrion Kross and Scarlett are gone and also can't go back to Impact because they burned that bridge really badly.
Yeah, it's funny that the most the funniest thing to me is that scathing promo that Adam cut on Karrion Kross before the Fatal 5-Way match about everything that Karrion Kross wasn't. And I mean, that was just like the sickest burn of all time and ended up being the truest thing ever.
Oh, and then
they stuck him in a gladiator mask.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. God. Like, speaking of promos that ended up eerily prescient, like the CM Punk promo, which was a worked shoot about Johnny Ace firing Harry
Smith in 2011. Yeah, that. I mean, as much as things change, they stay the same, and that is absolutely true with WWE.
Right. I would love to see Harry Smith at AEW, and I don't mean this in the generic, they should go to AEW, but I mean he was in a tag team with Lance Archer for a while, and I want to see them do stuff together.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's cool. Okay.
Yeah, he's Davey Boy Smith Jr.
Yeah, I know that. I didn't know that him and like there are people that I should know maybe we're like around one another because everybody in wrestling knows everybody else, but
yeah, I think before Lance joined Suzuki-gun, he was in a tag team called KES with Harry Smith.
Okay, that makes sense because it was New Japan. All right, yeah. So I mean, I hope to see Ember in AEW. That's maybe my only. I say Ember and Keith. I think are the two people that should come over and are most likely probably to come over. So
like obviously, kind of the next storyline that they're kind of setting up for Kenny is something related to Adam Cole in all likelihood. After the dust shifts from the title belt, they've definitely been hinting at it. But man, would I not love to see Adam Cole think he's on top of the world and then have Keith Lee show up and Adam's face just fall.
Adam has such a great angry surprised face.
Yeah.
As Joe in the chat would say, he's got great hubris.
Yeah. And I agree. Ember would be a massive, massive addition just instantly in the women's division, like as soon as she comes in, and she's someone who pretty vocally like wants to help those around her. Like I could very easily see Ruby Soho as like a top baby face, and Britt has her team that's kind of encircling her. I think Ember would be a great addition because she definitely like stands on the same level as Ruby Soho to me. Plus, I'm just absolutely like full disclosure, Ember Moon is the first wrestler that I ever fell in love with. Even before Kenneth Omega, I fell in love with Ember Moon because my good friend Allie Mad Pro introduced me to 2015-2016 era NXT. So I don't even remember who it was. I think it was Corbin. There was 3 Wolf Moon guy. That's who I remember. I remember seeing an Elias segment. And I remember falling in love with Ember Moon.
Mikey got the Elias segment. He came for the Elias segment. He stayed forever.
I didn't. I was like, who's this loser singing on guitar? But yeah, so I cannot wait to see Ember Moon. I was joking to Charlie, like she should show up just as like Driz Durden, but spelled differently, because that's what Ember Moon, like that's the character that Ember Moon is based on. But anyway, I digress.
So that was all the weird stuff that happened. I mean, I guess you can count anything else that happened in WWE weird. So Vishal, let's hear what let's hear
let's
it.
figure out. I'm just gonna go down the list, see what happened. So Becky and Bianca had a match on last week's Raw that I heard was genuinely really good, because it turns out when you give the two of them 28 minutes, they're gonna have a good ass match. That's it. Big E and Kevin Owens are feuding. That also fed into this week, where Kevin Owens has apparently turned heel on Big E, which finally, it's been long enough. It was fun watching KO beat up Shane McMahon, because it was a modern Stone Cold deal. And then since then, he's just kind of been floundering.
Yeah.
So good to see him back. Anything else happened? Right, Finn Balor's on Raw. I don't want to talk about it.
It's okay, Vishal. We're here for you.
Oh, they changed Angel Garza to just Angel now.
That's bad. That's so bad.
Yeah.
So
I couldn't figure out I'm like, wait, it just says Angel, like, and Biggie's like, welcome to the club, kid. Like, grab some sandwiches and crackers from the back. And I was like, okay, there's a joke that's totally going over my head. And then I was like, oh, that's Angel Garza. He's just Angel now, and he's on SmackDown.
Well,
so
you have to at least be legally distinct from David Boreanaz.
uh,
Come on. Jeez.
So yeah, NXT has been going on. I watched
they're trying to.
I watched Halloween Havoc, and I did not watch again.
Yeah, we haven't been watching because we've been doing other stuff on Tuesday, but
it's good that Dakota Kai's back. It's good that we're getting a follow-up to her feud with Raquel, because I think Dakota got the short end of the straw there.
I'm glad they're not just taking Raquel to the main roster, because that would be that was, full disclosure, like something that I thought they would do. And given how they've been treating people in NXT 2.0, I thought they were just like, okay, she doesn't have the belt anymore. She's gone. So I'm glad at least they're getting to play things out. I've heard they put Ciampa in like a really weird position. Like, he's a genuinely good guy, but then it's like,
oh yeah, the DIY thing happened. That's what happened. The pseudo, the Johnny walking forward and Tommaso walking back at the entrance.
Big fan of that. Johnny did a little thing like, oh yeah, remember when you hit me with a crutch, you piece of shit? Remember that? Huh?
Well, I'm glad they're doing that, because what I feel like I've heard is like they're just kind of like, Ciampa's so obviously going to be the guy that is just going to end up training other people and kind of fairly like funneling people
through. Yeah.
Okay, hit the 3-person button, please.
I'm gonna hit the 3-person button.
We're gonna have a transition here.
Oh.
We'll turn on the video. We can almost see you.
There's Will.
How was the Windows update?
45 minutes of torture.
Yeah, your average Windows update.
Yeah, I'll say.
Well, you had what kind of fine beverage are you drinking to get through your 45 minute update?
Oh, this is a bourbon. I think actually from Sonoma County.
Okay.
And it's nice.
All right, good. It's good to hear. We were just we had just lamented a little bit about WWE releases. We didn't want to go too far into it, because at this point, what can you say other than
the only thing I have to say is that eventually they're going to run out of flipping people to be on the shows.
Look, all I'm saying is that they are building to an end game of Roman Reigns versus Baron Corbin every week.
God.
It's the only 2 people left on the roster.
Yeah, like, what was it? Someone was saying, like, all you really need is like 3 or 4 people. So you just have one person have the title and then feud with one of your other people, and then they lose the title, and then you bring in the new person and cycle the old person out. It's just like, yeah, you know.
And then, once a month you pay some old guy a lot of money to have a bad match.
There you go.
Yeah.
We figured out WWE booking. We solved it, everyone.
It's just 3 hours of Oh, what the latest WWE TikToks updates are.
Yeah. So going back to the cuts that happened right after the investor call, apparently they called out TikTok is a huge source of growth. Let me tell you something, Stephanie. People aren't paying money for your product when they're watching TikToks. They're using it because your moments are the best way, like is the best way to catch up.
So business-wise, I don't agree with that because TikTok to them is the same as YouTube, where it is ridiculous. They will post a random video on YouTube and it'll get like 30 million views within an hour. It's not even a good video. It's like a Baron Corbin gets mad at Shorty G.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
It'll be a 2 years ago segment and they'll post it on YouTube and it'll get 30 million views. And regardless of the monetization of it, it is both a proof of their brand and it is an opportunity to grow that brand, because when something goes viral on TikTok, people are going to tune into what's next, regardless of if it's just later on the TikTok channel.
I did use a reel. I did actually. I've been trying to post more things on Instagram.
Charlie experimenting in short form video.
Listen, Instagram also sent me a survey, asked me to take a survey, and the last question on the survey was, "Do you feel like Instagram cares about you?" I said no. But regardless, it did ask me these things, and now I have a cat that's just gonna come into the frame for no reason.
And block the mic.
Okay. All right.
She really wants to give her thoughts on NXT 2.0.
She's gonna sit right here. This is live. We're live, pal.
Oh, Will, you should say who you are, what you do, and what your pronouns are.
Oh yeah.
Oh, hey, yeah, I'm Will Nevin. I write foolishness for Comics XF. Pronouns he, him. I've been watching wrestling for about 20 years now. I have reached the inevitable state of WWE being 100% unwatchable. I guess the main thing I spend my time on is AEW when it comes to wrestling. You folks know a lot more about the wider world out there than I do. And right now I'm just looking at WWE's YouTube channel, just trying to gather a handle on what their views are. And I'd say your average median video pulls looks like about 250, 300,000 views. Even kind of your middling NXT 2.0 highlight video polls looks like 200,000 or so. So people do watch on YouTube, and they will apparently watch anything.
Well, and I guess in fairness, when it's especially for Raw, that's such an institution and it's on Fox, which is free programming in the United States, I guess that is something where people can just tune in whenever. We're just gonna have to live with Winnipeg wanting to be part of this panel. We don't have a webcam for her set up, unfortunately, much to her eternal dismay. But yeah, as I made the point before, like when you've got things like The Masked Singer and Dancing with the Stars and whatever other manner of stuff is on, Dancing with the Stars isn't that bad. Masked Singer is completely just... Have you ever tried watching it? I don't recommend it, but it is when Kermit pops out of a fucking snail costume and that is who the singer is. Like, you can't tell that Kermit the Frog here is who's been behind that costume for the better part of a season. I don't know what to do with you. But compared to that, Raw seems almost watchable.
Yeah. I think what was it? I think it was Brian Alvarez that said Raw is a 1 hour show stretched into 3 hours.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah. And you know, when they turned it into a 3 hour show, which is like you sped run watching a bunch of WWE content, Michelle, did you go past that threshold when Raw was 2 hours into 3 hours?
I watched some of the 3 hour stuff, and that was around the point where I stopped watching main roster WWE and stuck to NXT as at that point anyone who actually enjoyed wrestling would do.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, back to NXT 2.0. They did have that little Johnny and Tommaso moment
Yeah, which was really just for me and only me. And
fine.
My one hope is that all the rumors of Gargano's contract expiring in December are true, and that he has exactly one match planned with Ciampa before he leaves. We finally get an actual, like, completely well done in front of a crowd match between the two of them to end this era, because quite honestly, DIY was always an NXT thing, and I'm happy to not have it go further than that.
I will say they did announce NXT 2.0 War Games.
Notice
War
the
Games! War Games!
That's my other hope, is that Johnny Gargano gets to be in his first ever War Games match, because he got screwed out of 4 of them.
He sure did.
But no matter what, he won't be Johnny Takeover. I mean, he is always Johnny Takeover.
He's always Johnny Takeover.
But he can't add to Takeover, because the one thing that wasn't on this graphic, it was NXT : War Games, not NXT : Takeover : War Games.
Yeah.
So it seems...
Can't wait for ads in the middle of War Games. So the one thing they learned from AEW, apparently.
Just put ads in it and everything.
There's some WWE pay-per-view or something that's coming up that's sponsored by The Rock's new movie or some garbage.
Well, here's the other WWE thing I'll bring up. So Survivor Series is coming up.
Yeah, Survivor Series. That's it. It's sponsored by The Rock's new movie.
The Rock has been extremely adamant about how he's not coming back for a match right now, which lends
Totally not.
But speaking of WWE YouTube content, all of it all over Instagram when it shows up on my feed is because the Survivor Series is 25 years of The Rock. So it'll be 25 years since The Rock debuted at Survivor Series. So, okay. I mean, that just tells me that
even if you're not wrestling, you're making an appearance.
Yeah. So, I mean, but how much traction can they get out of that? Which is, to me, not very much. So,
people who don't watch wrestling a lot.
But what do I know? I don't know. I don't know. Well, let me ask you this. Well, if you hadn't watched WWE content in, let's say 10 years, and you saw that Survivor Series 2021, The Rock was going to be there and set up a program with Roman Reigns, would you be enticed to start watching again?
Yeah, I would. Because look, the Dwayne Johnson is always going to do something interesting. It might be good, it might be bad, whatever it is, it's something you're gonna want to watch. Even his little appearance at WrestleMania with
Eric Rowan.
Well, Eric Rowan and she who shall not be named.
Yes.
That was watchable television. It was interesting. It was exciting. He's always going to bring an electricity to the product that it just currently doesn't have. So, one, yes, I would watch. Two, I think they've been building to this for years.
Yes.
Whether they're going to actually get him, who knows? But there's a reason why Roman Reigns, beat Lesnar, beat Cena, beat everyone else in front of him, so he could eventually beat The Rock. And it's like the underpants gnomes with Roman Reigns. Like eventually somebody's going to beat him, and we're going to make that other guy too. But they never decide who that other guy's going to be.
Yeah,
that other guy is going to be, I don't know. There's wrestler's child.
that Olympic wrestler they signed.
You know what? I figured it out. They want Roman Reigns to be the new Bruno Sammartino.
Just gonna be forever the champion.
Because one of the big things I remember when I started from the earliest WWE I watched, which was when CM Punk had his big long reign, was they were like, "Oh man, this is the longest title reign since Bruno Sammartino." What do they say when Roman is the newest, longest title reign ever?
God. I mean,
I do have to say, Venom in the chat has a excellent idea. Rock versus Roman in a rock, paper, scissors match, but The Rock can only use rock.
Ooh.
There you go.
You know the best part of this? Roman is the kind of guy who, just to put over The Rock in the match, would throw scissors twice and then would beat the shit out of him.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, NXT, so there is a War Games coming. I wonder if it's going to be new versus old. Like in the new NXT versus... I say
I
that.
would love that.
I would love that, but that sounds competent. So maybe
Yeah, well, and also like how many old people do they have?
I mean, that's exactly
Johnny?
it. They got
Tommaso,
Johnny Gargano, Tommaso.
Kyle.
You could throw in Dexter Loomis in there at this
Sure,
point.
Dexter. Maybe just throw Roddy in for fun.
Pete Dunne.
Pete. Just put Pete in there? Sure. We're just
There
mixing
are
it,
enough
mixing it
people who are still in NXT from NXT 1.0 that you could do something like that.
Yeah, I
My
guess that's
worry
true.
is there aren't enough new NXT 2.0 people who I feel would be safe in a War Games type environment.
Oh, you mean
safe, maybe not, but Braun Breaker, Tony D'Angelo, which is already interesting.
it's
and
Tony
then Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams,
yeah, and then maybe Zion
Quinn?
Yeah. Zion Quinn,
As
Malik Blade, they have people who can do it.
Yeah.
Just take a air raid crash off the top of the cage.
Yeah, that's my main worry is that every single War Games match that they've done has involved someone jumping off of the top of War Games.
Yeah.
And I don't trust Braun Breaker's all right. I don't trust anyone else from the NXT 2.0 crowd to take that bump well. For their own safety.
Wasn't War Games 2020 the match that took out Bobby Fish?
Yes.
He got injured in that match.
Yes, and he's a veteran. He's done every single War Games up to that point.
How they're gonna talk about War Games and they're gonna be like, oh man, the ghost that doesn't work here anymore sure wasn't a lot of War Games.
They're gonna have Kyle O'Reilly in it just so they could be like Kyle O'Reilly, the one man to do 5 War Games
matches.
Why does he keep getting in the cage? At some point, you'd think he would learn to stop.
Yeah.
Kyle O'Reilly, the lone survivor.
Yeah. There were some interesting things going on AEW television this week about in and around that. We'll get there.
Yeah.
SmackDown last week.
Well,
Michelle, what happened?
Let's look at last week's SmackDown because
before we go on, I did want to bring up they seem to be trying to recreate the magic of Index with who is it? It's Zion Quinn and then I can't remember the woman.
Elektra Lopez.
Yes.
Yeah. And apparently that's in a whole will they won't they situation. Well, no, not apparently, because that's what they were tweeting. And I don't know, romance is fun and all, but I mean, I guess that's one way to generate characters is put them up in a romance and just make it pure soap opera. Mm-hmm. But I don't know, I'm dubious of the whole affair personally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, from what I can tell, SmackDown had absolutely nothing of note except for another New Day Bloodline feud, which, hey, I'm not going to complain that we're getting Roman Reigns versus Xavier Woods on the mic because they're both actually pretty good at what they're doing now. I'm not going to complain that we're getting more New Day versus Usos in the ring because both teams are exceptional at what they do.
Xavier was doing some working on Twitter, though.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, he put out a whole video, and people were like, kudos to you, Xavier, for giving the Survivor Series match stakes, because he was just like, I'm king of the ring and, stuff. So
the Survivor Series win should have implications on Royal Rumble. I think that's what he was saying.
Yeah. I mean, kudos to...
That's how it worked back in the day. The brand that won Survivor Series got the 30th entry in the Royal Rumble.
I'm just going to go out and say it. I think Xavier Woods is the guy that works the hardest in wrestling, like, period, full stop. Especially with the Fightful reports. Another bummer thing, the Fightful reports on Xavier Woods and the nature of his work. All of the work that he does within WWE and outside of it all counts towards his baseline compensation, which is just like it's hard to explain if you don't know how wrestling contracts work. The ones in WWE don't work very well.
Yeah, we're not going to go into it.
Basically, he doesn't get paid extra for the extra work he does.
Yeah, including growing the YouTube channel. But, kudos. The thing is, I do think he's someone that like genuinely cares about his work. And it's like, if I'm going to be involved in something, I'm going to make it the best that it possibly can be. Whether or not other people put in that same level of work, like he's the guy who's always going to make the group project come out great, or at least on his end. Right. So like from that standpoint, like I'm like, oh, Xavier, but I really do think that he is like a perfectionist and likes to feel that sense of accomplishment. And, you know, on that note, God bless him, honestly.
Yeah. You gotta do what you can.
So Mikey put over Xavier. I'm going to bury him. I think obviously we don't know him. His public persona is absolutely charming. I think he just needs to go do YouTube stuff. He needs to go follow his passion. His passion is not professional wrestling. Professional wrestling is a hobby, and this current gimmick is insufferable, and it's been insufferable for every other person who's had it. You know, I talked about this the last time I was on. I fucking hate the King of the Ring gimmick. I hate. Oh, I'm King Xavier. I rule over the kingdom. No. It's garbage. It's absolute garbage. And he might be having fun with it. Good for him. But Xavier Woods, professional wrestler, is not one of my favorites.
I think he's gonna get ready to be done soon. I think all the New Day, now that they have all achieved essentially their bucket list, they can go and do whatever the hell they want now. It's done.
Yeah. Like just do what, and like I said, well, you weren't here, but I said the weird, not so much weird, but the interesting dichotomy we continue to see now, that there are enough former WWE wrestlers who are there a long time in AEW now, and the disparity between their work in both places continues to grow. So I want to see more of that. I want to see like what work. It's like they take, in Thor Ragnarok where they put the little control chip in Thor's neck. Like, so when you leave WWE, you get to take that out and it just stops inhibiting you.
Well, and to your point, Hollywood Bray Wyatt.
Yeah.
Or Wyndham Rotunda. People thought, oh, he's going to debut in AEW. No, he's going and making a Hollywood film with the guy that helped him come up with the concept and look and mask for The Fiend. And, I think Hollywood is a great place for Bray. He obviously has an understanding of like cinematography and using film as a vector for telling your story. And I think it's definitely going to pay more than wrestling will.
You think?
Yeah. A friend and I were talking, and like with Alexa Bliss, it's like, she could just go and make like 1 billion direct to streaming fucking like B horror movies, and like you can very easily make several of those a year, and then you're making bank. So,
Yeah.
And you don't have to injure yourself.
Bray's another guy who I think is a great storyteller, a great talent, but like Xavier, like he could just never really put it together in the ring. Like the stuff outside the ring never matched what happened inside the ring, and just that split just was there ever a Fiend match that you were like, oh wow, this was great fun? It was spectacle, it was chaos, it was nonsense, but it was never a good in-ring storytelling affair.
Yeah, I think it worked in the paradigm of what WWE was going for. But
that's what I was going to say. It's interesting because that sounds exactly like what WWE is aiming for, is extremely good out-of-ring storytellers and matches that exist to be interfered in to continue that story.
Yeah. Like, what can we do? What can we do to leave your focus not on what happened at the ring?
Yeah, have an interference that then the ref doesn't see that it's just ending in a roll up, and
all that nonsense. So, but I genuinely do. I loved the Firefly Funhouse match with John Cena in terms of storytelling. It was a small film. It was
a great short film, and I look forward to seeing what he can do in Hollywood, where his talents will be appreciated. I think he's very much more than a competent wrestler. I don't think that the way he was booked was at all going to play, like in terms of how he was booked in matches, was going to play to what strengths he had. Like he was just like, ooh, spooky, I'm going to put a hologram of myself in the Hell in the Cell. Ooh. Even when he was Swamp Cult, Bray Wyatt. It was not. It wasn't it.
I mean, and it wasn't necessarily that like there wasn't times where, I mean, because it's like obviously it takes more than one person in the match to make the match. So like I'm thinking,
which is why his match with Daniel Bryan at the time was pretty good.
Yeah, or I'll raise you another. I mean, all those encounters with the Shield and the Wyatt like the straight out of the box Wyatt family, like when those matches were great. But look at everybody who was in them. You know what I mean? It was Brody Lee. It was
John Moxley, Brody Lee, two of WWE's best wrestlers who are still with the goddamn company.
Yeah, so like there are all those parts there that make that great. Because if you're but literally, and I cannot stress this enough, 2014 WWE and 2021 WWE are not even the same company. There's such a disparity. They don't even seem like the same company anymore.
Yeah, at least in the men's roster side of it, the things that were happening in 2014 are like vastly more interesting to me.
Yeah.
Than, with the exception of a few bummer people that I just skipped. When we were going back and rewatching stuff for Match Club, like I just would skip through their stuff. But, the women's side, I mean, they're definitely two different sides of wrestling in sports entertainment, 2014 women's division versus now. But that's a little bit more mixed bag on both sides, let's say.
Yeah. But I'm not going to continue to, beat the dead horse, as it were, that is happening over there. But let's talk about the fun stuff that happened. So, let's talk about Dynamite last night.
Well, let's talk about Dynamite last week.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. We can do that.
We brought up earlier Jon Moxley. If you would have told me that the big event, this pay-per-view, we went from having the Eddie and Miro match last pay-per-view to Eddie and CM Punk, I would have been like, okay, I love Eddie Kingston. I've loved him since the day he came in to AEW, but what? But that's what they're doing, and it feels like the most natural, and honestly, it's one of my more anticipated matchups of this pay-per-view. Eddie put out an incredible article in the Players Tribune that if you haven't read it, it's a tough read. Content warnings for drugs and suicide and addiction, but it's a worthwhile one if you can get past that, and it's just incredible. He had a panic attack after his matchup with Miro at All Out.
Yeah. Watching Rampage, their like promo work on Rampage last week.
Oof. Right in the cookie.
They're on another level.
That's good shit.
It made me. It felt so real. It made me uncomfortable as someone who has anxiety when there is yelling conflict going on. And usually with wrestling, it's fine because I know it's like, even though like the guys in AEW, it's coming from some reality, but like those two, like it felt like they were airing old grievances, like, and I was just like, oh no, I'm not supposed to be seeing this. Like this is happening, and it's upsetting me. But it was incredible.
Not only that, but it immediately put to bed. There was a lot of, Eddie's good on the mic. All the AEW fans talk about his promo skills, but can he match up to CM Punk? Why, yes. Yes, he can. And in some ways, it's very easy to say that he came out looking better than Punk in both word and deed after that promo.
What they're kind of modeling it after is like Punk is the guy that, he hated. Like Punk being this guy that Punk would have said all this shit about. Like, I think that's fascinating for Punk because I keep remembering every once in a while that Punk says he wasn't going to come back to wrestling unless he had a great story he wanted to tell. I think his story is going to be really interesting, synthesized through people like Eddie who know this guy, CM Punk, but the audience knows this guy, CM Punk. We missed him so much. He was gone for 7 years. We love CM Punk, but everybody else, maybe not so much.
Well, and then they've been kind of sowing the seeds of like Punk being kind of an asshole, but being able to get away with it because of the audience's love for him and the place that he's in right now, being kind of this prodigal son that came back. And I love that it's like, what if he just is the asshole? Like the CM Punk I know, like, yeah, you can say, you know, whatever, you're sorry to the audience, but you never made amends with the people you actually hurt. Like, I love that idea.
Yeah.
And Vitamin also says the fight in the ring also felt really real. They broke away from the people keeping them apart multiple times. I really like that. Yeah, like they were like ready to go at it. Eddie was ready to throw hands. And, you know, being that kind of guy that would like, don't forget, this is the guy that like, oh, you know, Ray Phoenix is my brother, and he just like kicks him aside, right?
Yeah.
Like we've seen a face turn Eddie, but he's not that different from the man that he was, right? So, you know, he's someone that is just ready to throw down at a moment's notice. So
Yeah.
he would and Punk is, you know, maybe not as nice and happy, at least his in-ring character as he's let on. So what about you, Vishal? How do you feel about all of this build?
I think it's really, really interesting that for the past month and change, CM Punk has spent every single time he's come out to the ring playing to the crowd, saying the things, saying, oh man, I'm glad I'm back. I genuinely feel great, doing these crowd dives and whatever. And since the Eddie feud started, he hasn't done that once.
That's a good point. I didn't notice that.
Yeah.
The closest he got was when he talked about Moxley. He was talking directly to the crowd. And immediately after that, he said, and now we're going to talk about Eddie Kingston, who is an asshole who I hate.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the Twitter Lulu Pencil making Lulu Pencil cry. But you know, in fairness, Lulu's a heel right now.
A switch has been flipped on Punk, and he is finally starting to tell stories again and not just do whatever the opposite of a victory lap is. I don't know, an opening tour. He's done with that.
Hey, I'm just happy to be here.
Yeah, we're beyond that. He is getting to where Danielson started.
That's a very good way to put it. I got a question for the panel, and this is probably going to bleed over into the eventual Full Gear preview. CM Punk has got to lose eventually.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What if we went with the hot hand and did it here?
I think it
I'd
has
be
to
fine
be
with
Eddie.
that. I'd be absolutely fine with that.
I'm more strongly than that. I think it has to be Eddie, because so the entire feud up to this point is CM Punk is Eddie saying, you were a complete asshole to me back when you were hot shit in Ring of Honor. And everyone thinks you're a piece of shit because of it. And you just have the adoration of all these people who you're not even that nice to. And CM Punk was like, yeah, you know what? I'm an asshole and I do it again.
And I do it again. Yeah.
So if Punk winning doesn't work, it could work as like a heel thing, but even that for me, I don't think you need Punk to win to get heat from this match. And to me, it feels like a much, much less offensive, but still kind of similar in execution Booker T and Triple H feud. You know the one I'm talking about?
The bad one. The bad place.
The bad
the
place.
one where one guy straight up says, you don't belong here. You are a bum. Everything about you does not deserve to be here or to win anything.
Yeah.
And you can't have that guy win the match anymore. Like, you got a little too personal, and now you have to get hit.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think Punk deserves a comeuppance.
Yeah.
And
it's so funny that like it'll just turn on a dime, right?
Yeah, it's
when the right circumstances.
CM Punk has started performing again instead of just, do it because he is genuinely happy. I'm sure I don't know his real name. I'm sure Phil's a happy guy. Yeah. He's happy to be back.
Phil Brooks. There we go.
Phil Brooks.
Yeah.
But CM Punk is an asshole, and I'm glad we're getting him back.
Yeah.
That's a great way to put it.
We needed that little bit, but yeah.
It was about time. It was about time we did that. Yeah.
Yeah. And
I think Eddie should win. And
beyond that, so last week's Dynamite had Kenny Omega brutalize 5 in a Hangman confrontation. We'll get to that. It was good, but there was much better stuff this week that we can get to. FTR had a match with some luchadors, and it's delightful because, quite honestly, I fucking love FTR. I think when they started doing their teases for joining AEW, complaining about how bad AEW's tag team reffing is, every single time I was like, yeah, these guys have a point. Yeah, they're right. Fucking, what's this guy's name? Rick Knox, you're fucking terrible at your job. Why do you even work here?
Nepotism, okay?
Yeah, exactly. So, like, watching FTR's whole no flips, just fists thing work, not on a team like the Young Bucks, who are, like, you know, flashy and whatever, but Lucha, which is, like, built around it. It is almost sacred to that. The faces do the flips and the heels don't, but the flips are a big part of it. And FTR is just like, no, you can't do that here. We won't let you. I said it before. This is like them with the AAA titles is Matt Cardona with the GCW belt. It is everything against what this title should mean. And it rules. I love it. They do not deserve to have it. And that's why I want them to have it for like
Vishal. Just true.
Vishal chooses chaos.
Vishal always chooses chaos. Vishal said something very confrontational the other day, and we'll get to it.
I want FTR to win. Full gear is what I'll say. I want them to have it back. But no, more than that happened last week. There was Anna Jay and Jamie Hayter had a match. It's fine. Anna Jay is still green. Jamie Hayter cannot carry people in the ring yet. They'll get there. I'm glad they're giving the women TV time.
Mm-hmm.
Cody and Andrade had a really good match.
They did. And
surprisingly
last
good, I'd
time
say.
we did this, I went on a pretty long thing about how I fucking hate Cody Rhodes. So I'm gonna sound like a goddamn idiot. No, but Tony Khan specifically, like, outright saying, no, this is like the reaction Cody is getting is not something that has surprised us for a lot longer than people think. It, like, up to this point, I was not giving Cody the benefit of the doubt because I just didn't believe he deserved it. But quite honestly, it's not that he's earned it. Tony Khan has, like, confirmed that no, that doubt is true. Like, Cody Rhodes is playing 2009 John Cena, and he knows what 2009 John Cena was and why everyone booed him. That he knows why there's John Cena sucks chants whenever his theme plays. Even now, even when he was going against Roman Reigns and getting cheers, everyone still said John Cena sucks.
I wasn't convinced last week, even though the match was pretty good. But
I was convinced this week. Yeah,
I was convinced this week when he did the fucking Roman Reigns Shield entrance.
Yeah.
What was it? Charlie, Oscar, Delta. I forget what Y is.
Yankee,
there you go.
No, that convinced me this week. Ooh. when he just comes into the ring like Roman Reigns, and I was like
complete down to the all black shirtless, or sleeveless shirt.
It clicked for me, because although John Cena's in the reaction that Cena would get for so long is something that I know, I'm way more familiar with. We want Roman Reigns to be a babyface. Why don't you like Roman Reigns?
Yeah.
That's something that I understand, because I would visibly have to turn the volume down on my TV when people would be booing Roman, and I knew they weren't supposed to. I was like, oh no, I feel so bad for you.
Yeah, so for those that aren't aware, that are maybe only familiar with AEW, even though we talk a lot about all kinds of wrestling here, Vincent K. McMahon decided that even though people organically did not like Roman Reigns at all, that he was going to be a top face, and so started booking him like a top face and basically shoving him down the people's throats, even though he hadn't gotten over organically. So the people just got louder and louder with how they booed Roman
and wanted him to turn heel.
And so WWE started actually getting to the point of editing the crowd noise with fake cheers.
Yeah, the first time they ever piped in fake crowd noise was for Roman Reigns. But the funnier thing was there is a very, very funny picture of when Roman got his big win at the Royal Rumble in 2015,
Yes.
when everyone wanted Daniel Bryan to win, The Rock came out to congratulate him because they're related. That's a big part of why Roman got the initial push he did. And The Rock comes out and like raises Roman's hand in victory and is just looking around so confused why he's getting booed, because The Rock never gets booed.
Good job, Philadelphia.
Yeah. Great job, everyone.
Maybe don't try to do things like that in a city as chaotic as Philadelphia.
Yeah.
They're never gonna tell you something that they don't truly believe.
Right at the point when WWE, that night was when WWE figured out how much everyone wanted Daniel Bryan to come back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then they had the match at Fastlane, and it pissed everyone off even more.
Can't do it.
So Veteman says, IDK about this Cody Rhodes guy, but Fuego 2 is a pretty good wrestler. You should check him out.
Sorry, I don't watch AEW's YouTube content, and you can't make me.
I do think it's kind of great though how whoever is behind the mask of Fuego 2 is using how over Fuego del Sol is and kind of capturing that. Okay, let's cut the kayfabe. Fuego 2 is Cody Rhodes wrestling in a tag team called Too Fast, Too Fuego with Fuego del Sol. And again, like that combined with the Shield entrance, like Cody knows exactly what he's doing, right?
Yeah.
You know, like regardless of all the missteps he might have made with the Anthony Ogogo, my greatest hope is that he's learned from that, right? At least
I feel like we're in a yo-yo factory. I feel like every week something happens and we're like, oh, Cody has no idea what's happening, and then it's back up. Oh, Cody has every idea what's happening. It's like, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, and someone says, ironically, Cody didn't get booed this week.
Yeah, well,
I mean, I think the crowd didn't realize he was there until he was already there.
Yeah, because like, why the fuck would Cody come out through the audience?
Yeah, he came through the audience and his music didn't play. How are they supposed to know?
Where's Mikey Ruckus to do a parody of the Shield theme? Like, honestly.
Yeah, for real.
He can kick out the, Ghostbusters, totally not Ghostbusters theme song in 2 hours. We ought to be able to get, like a interpolation of doo-doo.
Iconic. What else happened on Dynamite last week that I'm missing?
Miro murdered Orange Cassidy.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's how Dynamite ended. And so the whole thing with Mox, obviously, just there wasn't a way around it. And AEW is handling it very well by basically saying the number one ranked guy who isn't in the tournament gets the spot. And also he has refused to see his wife since he lost his title and is very horny and wants her back.
So people might not remember, this is actually like a kind of a brilliant thing. Like when he had the title, he cut this promo saying like, every night I win and I go home and celebrate with my wife.
Not just one promo. Every single promo he cut, he referenced his God and his flexible wife.
Yeah,
every single promo.
You're right. But then there was the one that he specifically said, like, I go home and celebrate. And then last night on Dynamite, he said, like, I want to win so I can see my wife again.
Yeah.
And
this entire angle for Miro is, since I've lost the title, I haven't been able to go home to my wife. And I'm very angry at God for doing this to me. And also I'm incredibly horny and really need to see my wife.
The two states of man, horny and God. Yes.
Sorry about the yawning.
But yeah, last week's Dynamite, some of the stuff was a little off.
Yeah, the promos were where it got a little weird, and I'm specifically going to bring up John Silver's very, very bad promo where he was just like, haha, don't you all watch Being the Elite? And I was like, no, I don't, dude.
No.
I thought it was great.
I don't think it was funny because it wasn't telling jokes that were funny. It was referencing old jokes that he told that he thought was funny.
That's true.
I will say, I loved their match.
Their match was great. Yeah.
I love their match, and I will also say that Christian Cage, you cannot use the concerto as a babyface move.
You totally can.
Savage.
You totally can.
Please remember that.
Anyone else can't, because anyone else doing the concerto isn't one of Edge or Christian. Christian and Edge can do the concerto as a babyface move because they are one of Edge and or Christian.
Fine, whatever. This speaks to Adam as a performer. Adam Cole selling that concerto during the match. So I love Adam in the ring. Like, I really do. I think as much as he was himself in NXT, I've really loved seeing his work in AEW. Like, it's no secret that I love Adam Cole a lot. I love what him and the Bucks are doing. I love Matt coming out with his coffee. I love their little promo. I love so much of what the three of them are doing as a unit, in distinct opposition to, the Bucks and Kenny as a unit. But I love that a lot, and I'm excited to see where that heads, which leads us to this week's Dynamite, which was a fantastic show. Just straight up.
It is the best go-home Dynamite they've ever done. And, I very much hate go-home shows because every single one of them is designed to leave you just, anticipating the actual event without doing anything major. This one didn't do that because, we're still anticipating the actual event. But that's because everything that happened this episode made it even more exciting.
Yeah. There were some key things I needed to happen on this episode of Dynamite, and I got that. Mostly revolving around Kenny and Hangman. But I think everything worked to elevate everything that was happening on the pay-per-view.
Bobby Fish just kind of beat the shit out of Jungle Boy. I'm a big fan of just mean, nasty boy Bobby Fish.
And I knew
also, Max Caster did call Jungle Boy nasty because that facial hair looked gross. And dude, you gotta shave. You're Luke Perry's son. Shave.
It was a lot.
I do
beard.
I do like that. Max Caster seems to have found, although slightly baffling at times, a spot with his raps that's not doing edgelord shit all the time and pulling an MJF.
With Danielson on this Rampage was delightful.
Yeah, the one with Daniel. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. So I'm really glad about that. I called it when we were watching and Bobby Fish came out to beat up Jungle Boy. I was like, why is Bobby Fish here? I was like, I better see a segment with Adam Cole and Bobby Fish about this. And guess what they did?
A handshake specifically.
They gave it to me. They also gave me.
There's no dispute about this era. It's the era of the elite.
Yeah. Yeah, and I love bringing up that Matt and Nick know who Bobby Fish is because Ring of Honor. Why wouldn't they know? I love that Matt and Nick were a little especially Matt was a little I don't know about this. Who's this weird friend you have? It's when your friend brings over.
The Jackson brothers are just very untrusting of well-groomed facial hair because they don't know how to do it.
Oh, stop it.
They could stand to trim their beards a little bit.
But I like that dynamic a lot. So that was really fun, and that could be a lot of fun going forward because I can see if only Kyle were here. I love that SpongeBob meme where it's Squidward in his house watching SpongeBob and Patrick run outside, and it was Kyle O'Reilly, and it was Adam Cole and Bobby Fish outside.
Yeah, at least Roddy Strong's got his group of big boys, and he has the Cruiserweight Championship or something.
Yeah,
he's doing stuff. Kyle O'Reilly is doing the classic WWE. Can they coexist?
God, that's occurring. Somebody was tracking the WWE Twitter, and the way that they've been pushing this for what was it, a year and change?
Yeah.
Can they coexist angle?
Yeah, Joe brings up in chat that Adam Cole's overfilling his friend slots once again, which he did make a point to tell John Silver and Alex Reynolds that he did not have any room for any more friends, that he had enough. So
well, yeah, and Bobby Fish never stopped being his friend.
Oh, that's true. Oh, good point. Good point.
He didn't. It's not like he kicked Bobby Fish.
Yeah, that's right. Bobby was gone for that entire Undisputed Era feud. So I mean, they were still friends.
Yeah, well, he kicked Kyle O'Reilly in the face. He hit Roddy Strong with a low blow, and Bobby Fish didn't exist.
Yeah, so
it's still undisputed to me. It was so funny. But I loved that. That was fun. That was incredibly fun. Wardlow got some action this week. He got to kill Wheeler Yuta.
Yeah, Chaos made their debut in AEW this week and lost both of their matches.
So
bad look for Okada's faction. Really making him look like a scrub.
So, there's something about, especially it being on a social media exclusive, of Rocky being like, yeah, you guys are all in chaos. My best friend Okada said so. Why? Okada's just very busy. He doesn't need to, bother himself with these little trifles. But he did want me to tell you that you're all inducted into chaos now. Seems a little suspicious to me personally, because
as someone who doesn't want to see Omega versus Okada right now because we don't need it, I would love to see Okada come in with balloons and yelling Scooby-Dooby-Doo and hang out with the best friends. I think that is a much better use of Okada as a character.
That I would love.
I did love when Rocky and Brian were having their match. I love the chaos towels.
Oh yeah, that's Chuck's.
In the back? No, like in the audience, the chaos towels in the audience. I'm like, oh man, this is real New Japan up in here. And they got the towels in the audience and everything.
Yeah. No,
I like the idea that I love these threads of stuff. So even though Okada can't be at Full Gear, I am expecting him at some point in the near future. So show me the Rainmaker, because I would like to see him.
Yeah. Joe in chat says, I'm firmly of the opinion that we don't need Omega versus Okada 5 either. Like, I think it's one of those things where unless there's a really compelling story reason, I don't think it needs to happen. I would much rather see, I do really truly adore the love affair and friendship between the best friends and Okada. And I think that could be really fun, because he's also like, he's having to do, like, I think the greatest thing about the Forbidden Door, as we're calling it, is, like, my understanding in the territory systems, like, you could work one territory as a face and another territory as a heel. Like, you didn't need to necessarily be consistent because it wasn't going to be the same audience watching you all the time. Like, the only thing you had to connect it, like, back in the early days before the internet, was, like, pro wrestling, like the PWI magazine, right? That had all the match statistics and everything. So, like, obviously it's not quite that. Kayfabe is, consistent and also broken in the year 2021. But I would love to see the Okada that's having this super serious, like, I'm going to carry the old IWGP belt for Ibushi, but then be able to come into AEW and be a little, like, still be a serious competitor, but able to have a little bit more levity. I think that would be a really good use of, like, they don't have to work exactly the same way, if that makes any sense.
First Avenger 1991 says, keep Okada away from Kenny and have Okada versus Danielson again, which I agree with. My other opinion is that if you're going to have Omega versus Okada again, you have to do it in New Japan. For the same reason, I feel like if you do a last Gargano and Ciampa match, it has to be in NXT. There's just some stories and feuds are specific to certain promotions.
Yeah.
And Omega versus Okada, I don't want to see them do an AEW style match. I want to see them do a New Japan style match. Yeah. As unhealthy as that might be for a Kenny Omega.
And as much as you don't want to watch a 30-minute classic.
I will say, Will, what did you think? Somebody who doesn't know a whole lot about New Japan, how did you feel about this week's episode, kind of like riding a little wave of Forbidden Door-ness?
Yeah. Well, I'll say a couple of things. One, I enjoyed Oh God, I've had too much bourbon. The chaos stuff that was fun.
Yeah.
And like I said in our Slack before the conversation here, I fell asleep like an old man in front of the television. Last night when I queued up Dynamite, I fell asleep before the main event angle. So I mean, I know generally what happened, right? They brawled and whatnot. My main question heading into Full Gear is, where do we go from here? What do we do with Kenny, assuming we finally pull the trigger on the title switch? Because I think we have to, right?
If they don't, I think that is one of the biggest blunders they'll have done booking wise.
Yeah, Hangman was hotter before he had to go and have a baby, which good for him by all means. This is the second hottest he's going to be. I would really, 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 really worry if you deferred the title change yet another time. So let's say they pull the trigger. I don't think you can have Kenny going back to whatever he was doing, just kind of hanging off in the background. He needs to be doing serious, important stuff.
I think the first thing he does is a feud with Adam Cole, or not a feud, a program with Adam Cole, because they've been seeding for. Charlie and Mikey have brought this up as well. They've been seeding for a few weeks now, and even longer, I'm sure, in BTE, that Adam Cole is kind of stealing the Young Bucks away from Kenny Omega, which, coupled with Kenny likely having some sort of breakdown when he loses the title, is going to lead to a lot of internal conflict within the Super Elite.
Yeah, and let's talk about that contract signing for a second, because that loops into this. I specifically needed Adam because something had been missing. Well, you were 100% right. Hangman was super hot when they went into that angle before, like, All Out. And then he had to go away. And when he came back, I was so excited to see him again. I wrote an essay about it this week. I didn't expect to feel as emotional as I did when I saw him come out and climb that ladder, because it got me. And it worked. And his promo right after that was great. Something had been missing for me, and for me, it was Kenny and Hangman talking face to face, saying things out loud. We can do so much conjecture, and I've done so much about what the story is, why we're here, what's happened with Kenny, what's happened with Hangman, how that all broke down, which is great. But I needed somebody to say it out loud. I needed somebody to verbalize, Hangman, what the hell's been wrong with Kenny Omega for the last year. And we heard it last night. And I could not have been happier, because we heard not only everything that Hangman seeing right through Kenny's bullshit, but we heard Hangman say the one thing I didn't think, not name, but the one thing that's driven Kenny to this point and points previous that turned him into the cleaner in the first place, which was his an inability to live up to Kota Ibushi. Like Hangman said, if I recall, you had a tag team partner once that you didn't live up to, that you couldn't live up to.
Burned.
And the audience knew exactly what he was talking about. And that's astonishing to me, because that's a story that maybe not a lot of people know.
Or if they didn't know it, they could pick up what. Yeah,
my experience in an AEW crowd was that during the Go Home show to 2020's Revolution, when Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks came out, some random dude in front of me yelled Kota Ibushi and then turned around and said, "Yeah, haven't you guys heard of the Golden Lovers?" And we were all just like, "Dude, what?"
Incredible. I didn't know this story, Michelle. That's very funny.
Let me ask this. It appears, talking about Forbidden Doors, it appears that the door between AEW and Impact has closed. I can't remember the last time Don Callis was on television. How do you feel about not having Don going into Full Gear?
Don just came back, actually. You mentioned you fell asleep. He came back during the contract
signing.
Oh, God damn it.
God damn it.
So I was like, okay, it's very weird how this contract signing. Like, this is a really important moment. Why is the camera so shaky? Why does the cameraman keep stepping in front of the frame? They're usually really good about that because they don't want the cameraman there. And then they go to shake hands, Will, and the cameraman runs up and bops Hangman. And then Don Callis has a black face mask on, like all the camera people do, rips off the face mask, has a stick-on goatee and mustache, rips off the fake facial hair, and he says the greatest
trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he didn't exist.
Right.
I've been hiding for months now.
In my basement, he said.
In my basement. So, and it's important to note, Don doesn't actually work for Impact at all anymore.
Really? I didn't know that.
He left his executive position there pretty soon after he started showing up at AEW regularly.
Yeah.
It was a weird situation, the whole thing, honestly.
Some people said last night, before Don came back, they're like, I thought Kenny was lightening up a little. Like, in the character, the sinister overtones to Kenny's character.
Hold on, continue talking.
Had like ebbed away a little bit, and I'd seen it. Like, and I talked to Joe in the chat about how Kenny seemed to be bringing more of the actual cleaner into his character, who wasn't necessarily so sinister as he was this like wrestling machine that just like did whatever he could to win. This Kenny doesn't care about. He cares about being the best in this really unhealthy way because he doesn't love what he does. So like just watching Kenny's face when Hangman mentions Coda and watching Kenny's face and it's like Hangman's like, oh, it's safe to say maybe you've surpassed him, and Kenny's like, I sure have, because that's the thing that is the thing that drives Kenny forward and all this horrible stuff he does, because his heart is broken. Like, whether you think that heartbreaking is, for one reason or another, like, it has just driven him insane. Really, truly. And I really love they brought it out, and I really loved Kenny signing that damn contract in Hangman's blood. I thought that go home angle knocked it out of the park for that match. It was
ridiculous in a very good way because Hangman just very visibly bladed, and then Kenny just stuck his finger in the blood and signed the contract. It was gross.
Yeah, it was gross, but like in a good way, in my opinion. Good
moment, good call. I don't know. It's cartoony in a way that I think would almost not work if they didn't have another episode to drive home a little bit more of like the personal stuff.
I was ready for that angle actually to end with them on the handshake, because their conversation had gotten really real. Like all these things that I needed them to air, they were airing. Like,
see, I don't think it could have, just because in the story of that, Hangman said all these truths about Kenny, but Kenny didn't agree with any of them.
Yeah.
He refused to acknowledge any of his flaws and refused to acknowledge anything that Hangman was saying. And like, I was honestly expecting him to do the classic WWE handshake into a sucker punch thing, and they basically did that.
Yeah. No, my friend Joe in the chat says they did almost fall unconscious. They were watching like a minute ahead of us when we were on the phone together last night. And they were yelling about what Hangman said, and I was like, I don't know what's happening yet. I haven't gotten there. So it was a really, really I do think Kenny was like, Kenny's a brilliant like person to turn the words. So even though he's lying, like when he's talking to Hangman, he's also telling the truth when he said something very pointed, which was, this is all meant for you. That's true. That is true. This position was meant for Hangman. And they could not give it to him when he first came here. That would not have worked. It would have been a Roman Reigns situation. But they got Hangman to the point where the crowd wants nothing more than for that man to win the belt, which he will win. I cannot see... With, sometimes the WWE worm lives in your head that says, oh, they won't do the thing that I want them to do. And AEW always does the thing that they want, that you want them to do.
Well, and not only did they get Hangman over, but like even the people that were cheering for Kenny at All Out, like that were singing along with his theme song, that wanted him to win over Christian because we knew that wasn't a real thing, right? And yeah, I'm including myself in that.
We were doing Terminator claps it all out. Okay,
Yeah.
listen, I was cheering for Kenny.
But
It's fine.
I think the thing that I'm enjoying the most about where we've ended up now is that the people that really like Kenny as a performer and as a character want him to be beat because that's how he can evolve.
Yeah. Kenny won't change until he gets the belt is taken away from him.
He's like stuck in Groundhog Day loop.
Yeah, he's stuck in a bad mode right now. So to answer your question, well, what's next for Kenny? I mean, I think immediately it's
He needs to go take like 5 naps.
stuff. Yeah, he needs to take like a bunch of naps. But I think immediately it's probably elite stuff. I think you don't mention Kota Ibushi unless you mean it. So they have a story to finish, and I'm looking forward to the day that happens. So
Hopefully when Kota is no longer hella injured. And
yeah. Oh, and one thing that did happen that Rampage hasn't happened yet, but the Young Bucks retweeted the little article AEW did about breaking down Hangman's story with a clock, and then Hangman replied to it and says, I'll talk to you guys tomorrow night. And that man is going to say he is sorry that he messed up their friendship, and it is going to throw so many wrenches into everything that it's not even funny. People are like, oh, they're gonna have a fight, and I'm like,
the Bucks are going to make it into a fight.
I think the Bucks are going to attack Hangman, like
Yeah.
verbally or physically. They're going to be shitty about it.
yeah, but it will have whatever Hangman will have said will have sunken in by then. So I'm looking very forward to whatever that is, because that is
Michelle's like, doubt.
but doubt as the LA Noir. I doubt.
Yeah, I just doubt that. Like, I'm sure there's going to be something about it, but I really don't see the Bucks changing how they behave.
Not right now. I don't think it's gonna be. It's not gonna be one of those things that's like an instant switch that's flipped. But I do think like that's the little missing piece for me, is like the tiny little piece over here with the Bucks. So I think we can start doing something there. Haven, who was in the chat, said something earlier today, and I said, "Oh, look, Hangman's gonna talk to the Bucks," and it was like, Hangman, hey, Kenny sucks. Kenny kind of sucks, and it's like the Bucks, yeah.
What you gonna do about it?
Yeah. What can you do? Yeah. So I'm interested to see that, but there's a couple things going on Rampage. I'm excited to see the road to. I'm really excited that we didn't see like any glimpses of like a package for Hangman and Kenny's story, because I'm hoping the first time we see like the video package for whatever that is, that it's like right before the match. Because I want that experience. Like, I want, like, here's this really cool video package we did for this thing. Maybe it won't be any Stone Cold and Rock My Way by Limp Bizkit at WrestleMania 17, but it'll be better because it's happening now.
So 2 thoughts.
And it's not Limp Bizkit.
Yes.
2 thoughts re-video package. Maybe 3. I don't know. Fred Durst is making a comeback on TikTok. But yeah, there was no Hangman and Kenny, but they're going back to Eddie and CM Punk. There was an incredible, I think, 1.5 minutes of video package with Eddie just talking about Punk on this week's Road 2. It is absolutely essential watching, just because it's so damn good.
Yeah, it's really good.
It's really good. And 2, a lot of people I've seen calling for Hangman to get an Orville Peck performance at Full Gear. I don't think
Interesting.
I don't think he needs to come out to anything but his music. If
Yes.
Orville Peck wants to do an acoustic cover of God, I lost
Ghost Town Triumph.
Ghost Town Triumph. Thank you. Then that's fine, but I don't think we need to get Orville Peck singing Show Pony or something. Like, not right now. You want to have the moment that is recognizable. You want to cement him as a star. you don't want to deviate from that package. Once he's already over and had a title reign and like goes to take on, I don't know, if Tanahashi comes in 2 pay-per-views and takes on Hangman for the AEW World Title, that's when you can have, whatever your big bombastic going out of the norm. But I think right now, to cement him, you keep him as the guy that he is right now.
Yeah. Yep. Which leads us to the Full Gear card.
Before that, I also just want to bring up Dante Martin and Lio Rush versus Matt Sydal and Lee Moriarty was
incredible. I actually need to go rewatch it because I was kind of zoning out at that point. But what I did see was really good.
Pac versus Dax Harwood, also incredible.
Mm-hmm.
It turns out AEW has got a lot of really good professional wrestlers. Who would have thought?
Who would have thought? They cut all those fish in a little pond.
And sadly, because we can't always have good things, the HFO is fucking back, and we have to deal with Matt Hardy for another goddamn month.
I've seen so many jokes that are like, the year is 2035. Matt Hardy has all of the AEW titles and the HFO reigns supreme. Orange Cassidy is continually buried and shit like that. And it's just like, that is definitely what it feels like right now.
We don't need a lumberjack match between Matt Hardy and Orange Cassidy on the Rampage before Full Gear. None of us asked for this.
I would say none of us asked for this. The Orange Cassidy thing annoys me. The one thing that perpetually frustrates and legitimately pisses me off about the HFO is the state of Private Party. Private Party is the first tag team in AEW, the first tag team, really, whose work I saw, because the Golden Lovers, it was about the story, that got over with me organically, that I'm like, I want to see every match from these guys from Private Party, right? They're so good. They're so funny. They're so energetic. Like, they just feel like someone, I don't know very much about JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, but I know they feel like 2 characters out of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, right?
What a statement.
And then the pandemic happened. And obviously they live in 2 different cities. They came back. They had a lot of ring rust. The chemistry just wasn't there for a little bit, right? They needed time to catch back up. And then the HFO happened. And the whole, I'm going to help you guys, but I'm going to take more of your money. And they just have steadily disappeared ever since that moment.
They have 2 other wrestlers doing Matt Hardy's HFO gimmick so much better than Matt Hardy has done it the entire time it's existed. Andrade doesn't even speak in full English promos, and he has surpassed Matt Hardy in every way. I don't even mean this as a slight on Andrade. He's an incredible performer, including on the mic. When he talks, it's really impactful at this point. But he makes Matt Hardy look like an amateur, and LBO Leo actually sounds like what a crypto bro would sound like.
A sleazy crypto bro.
So I am a software engineer, so about 50% of the people I work with are crypto bros. So LBO Leo is very, very entertaining to me.
Yeah.
But the thing that frustrates me about Private Party is the whole storyline was supposed to be that he's bleaching the color from them as well as bleeding them dry of money. But the thing that's actually resulted in is just him essentially burying them. And he's got he's burying TH2, which I know some people don't like TH2, but Vishal and I,
y'all have seen me in my TH2 t-shirt. Y'all know I like TH2.
Are lockstep on, it's that TH2 is good, actually.
It's that Angelico does the dance and it works.
It's good. They're good at, and they didn't work for me until I saw them in the match with the Bucks, which also got me on board with the Bucks. But it's they're just dirty, rowdy boys, and they make everyone hate them by being super obnoxious. And they just haven't been around either. I don't even think they've been on the
Jack Evans got his head shaved, and then he just took a sabbatical.
He has not appeared since he got his head shaved, because it turns out shaving Jack Evans' head helps no one.
And it's just
his flips look less cool when his hair's not doing crazy shit.
And then the Butcher, the Blade, and the Bunny are supposedly an HFO, but they haven't had any actual, they're the ones that come out of this the best because none of their storylines have involved Matt Hardy in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, it feels like they've split from the HFO at
but
this point.
Bunny still has the HFO entrance.
She does, fuck.
Yeah, so it's just the whole thing is just like, what the fuck is going on?
We don't know. We don't.
Like,
We never knew.
Vitamin in chat has said that the lumberjack match might be a way of writing Matt Hardy off, or honestly writing the whole HFO off. If I'm being honest, like you have like 30 people surrounding the ring. At some point, they're all gonna beat the shit out of the HFO and tear them to shreds, right?
I hope so. I'm just so worried because the one thing that I think AEW has really failed at is, other than anything in the Codyverse, they've been so averse to breaking up or dissolving factions, like the Pinnacle, as it was originally, and the Inner Circle have both long outlived their welcome, yet here we are.
The Inner Circle has had like 5 separate matches where the stipulation is if we lose, the Inner Circle breaks up, and every single time the Inner Circle does not break up.
Like, this is what we were talking about with Bullet Club a couple weeks ago, right? Like, the problem is, if you have a faction, you have to be willing to break them up at some point, because although you want to have longevity in your product and have these factions that people can get on board with and can sell merch, like, if they just feel like they're circling the wagon, then that does no one any good. Like, then your audience is just like, why the fuck am I buying merchandise that says the Pinnacle on it?
My big pitch for the Pinnacle is that Andrade kicks MJF out and becomes
I don't even think
Pinnacle.
I think the Pinnacle is going to be the
for
first.
me now.
Yeah, yes.
Exactly. I think the Pinnacle is going to be the first faction to break up because, one, Andrade is stealing FTR, which we didn't mention this. I think there is a very, very interesting story of Cody being Dusty Rhodes' son, getting the shit kicked out of him by essentially some of the pillars of NXT, one of Dusty Rhodes' last legacies in WWE.
Yeah.
I think there is like a lot going on there because Cody's doing his whole fucking like, oh, I almost did the pedigree on Malachi Black, but I'm better than that. And these are Triple H's boys right there.
Yeah.
They are all Triple H's boys beating the shit out of him right now. That's like another reason why I turned around on this story and why I'm less mad at it, because once FTR started beating up Cody, I was like, oh, this is an NXT thing. And I am the NXT mark to this day.
Yeah, I mean, that does make sense, Vishal, now that you say that, because I know a lot of people are like, all these men are better than this feud, but I hadn't put 2 and 2 together that they all had that relationship. So that makes sense to me. Like, they're all friends, right? Like, they all came from this place together, even though their interests are theoretically separate. So, I
feel like the Pinnacle kind of, because of this, is going to break up, because FTR is... They have gotten more from Andrade than they have from MJF. Wardlow is right about to blow a fucking gasket. I think he might at Full Gear. I think they might wait till like winter is. They might want to do it on TV. Is my feeling. They might want to do it at like a winter is coming type thing.
Yeah,
one of those, like,
Sean Spears is going to get his first.
Yeah, exactly. So Wardlow might like beat the shit out of Sean Spears at this week's at Full Gear. That'll be fun.
Sorry, a lot is happening with the cats.
I'm gonna get the cats out of here. Continue.
Have fun with that.
Yeah.
So I feel like, if not HFO at the lumberjack match, I think that the Pinnacle is the first faction to like properly split up, because what do they have to do? It's bizarre. They won the first and only AEW Blood and Guts match and have done nothing of value since then. Yeah,
although in fairness, the Blood and Guts match wasn't what AEW
didn't put them over.
And it didn't even put the Blood and Guts stipulation over.
Yeah, I don't know if AEW is gonna do another one after that. I mean,
it sucks because it's such a good idea in concept, but they just, like, by the time everything rolled around to where they could do any semblance of one, there were just not really the build and the place in the story where that merited that. Like, it felt so...
I still want to see part of me still wants to see the Inner Circle and the Elite Blood and Guts match you never got to see. But But the other part of me says there are better blood and guts matches than we've gotten to see. So
yeah, it's just so it's so unfortunate, but like it just wasn't. Like by the time we got there, we just didn't really have a blood and guts match, so the build was all totally artificial.
I got that first minted blood and guts t-shirt from March of 2020. Right before it, I got that.
I was planning on actually I was gonna be in Newark the week of Blood and Guts, or around Newark, and I would have been there. This is so sad.
Yeah, these things happen.
Like I think it's something where it should come back eventually. Just like we need
give
to
it a cool off period.
Yeah, much like Don Callis, we need to forget that it exists.
Hide Blood and Guts in the basement.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about the Full Gear card. Since I think it's
let's finally pull that up.
I think it's finally time.
Yeah.
Hopefully we don't get any cats reaching under the door.
All right. So I'm gonna start from the bottom of the card just because it's more fun for me that way.
Yeah.
Likely what's going to be the first match is Bryan Danielson versus Miro. What are we thinking? Because before Mox checked himself into rehab, I was convinced Mox was winning this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was pretty well forecasted. Like, here's the thing. Does Bryan need it? No. Do I kind of want to see him win? Yes. Do I think that him winning would kind of preclude him going to Japan like he wants to? Also, yes. So sorry, I had to talk through this one. By process of elimination, I guess my guess is Miro's winning.
I also think Miro's winning because, quite honestly, Danielson still doesn't have a title story in him beyond just I'm a good wrestler. And
that's true.
Mox had a story in him right away. He had that shit going on with Hangman in the ladder match.
Yeah.
Miro has a story where he's going to kill God and he's going to use the AEW championship to do it.
Yeah, well, and then even before that, Mox technically never really lost clean for the title.
Yeah, exactly. And Miro is a former champion. I don't know. I think
I feel
Danielson and Punk have to have their first losses, and I think Miro is as good an opponent as any to give Danielson that loss and like get rid of this undefeated status. Because personally, one of the biggest problems AEW did with the then debuting Brody Lee and I think also Brian Cage was this like, no, not Brian Cage, but specifically Brody Lee was like, oh, he's undefeated in AEW. He's 12-0 in the build to the Mox match. It just, something about it didn't click. And I think undefeated wrestlers are not as good a commodity as one would think.
Yeah, like I definitely, I mean, there was a lot that was really just like, I don't blame them for doing whatever they had to do just to keep, it was such like a keep things going during the pandemic that the build to that match did feel super artificial. I think it's unfortunate that, you know, we'll never get to see another storyline between those two men. Because I think there's so much more that could have been told there, but you know, it is what it is. But yeah, I think you're right. Like I would rather see like a stronger
and a face chant. Like even though Bryan wrestles heel, he's not one. So
one yet,
you need a face. You need a heel contender for your face champion. So
I did actually forget the buy-in. Don't want to forget the buy-in. Nyla Rose and Jamie Hayter versus Thunder Rosa and Hikaru Shida. Gonna be a fun tag match.
Yeah, the faces are winning.
I think the faces win this. I don't think it matters either way, but yeah, Shida needs to keep having some wins. Rosa needs the momentum because if she's not winning the TBS title, she's beating Britt.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna be mad about seeing Nyla and Shida in a match again and seeing Nyla on a pay-per-view again, because it's been, I don't count the Women's Royal Rumble, it's been a long while for Nyla to have a bigger match.
What do you think about these two, Will?
So if this was not the obvious spot for Hangman to win the title, I would be worried about the booking of this match giving away the finish of that match. But I think it's so clear at this point that at least Hangman should win the title. I guess I don't have too many problems with Miro going over here, but I think Danielson could be a good opponent for either. In some disastrous alternate world where Kenny Omega leaves Full Gear with the championship.
Best universe. I don't know what you're talking about. No.
Yeah. I actually agree with that. In the bizarre universe where Kenny Omega doesn't drop the title on Saturday, Miro can't win because a Miro Kenny match with Kenny as champ doesn't have bite because they are coming at it from two completely different angles.
Yeah.
Like why is Miro's wife involved in this now? Why is Kenny involved in any of this?
Kenny doesn't want to be here, trust me.
Yeah, with Hangman it makes sense. Hangman's like the good guy. Miro has to kill him, but having to kill Kenny Omega doesn't work.
Also, CJ Perry is out of her non-compete now, I believe. So
yeah, she's been out for a while. I think she's not interested in coming back to wrestling.
Yeah, she's been backstage, but that does mean that she could at least appear. We could get Miro gets to see his wife's face again. The other thing is, I know someone in chat, and I'm sorry, I forget who First Avenger 1991 is, but Miro, Hangman, and then Brian Okada. So that's Will, I know if Brian loses, then he doesn't get to go directly to the AEW title contendership. But what if Brian loses and then he says, I want to face Okada for the IWGP title that Okada is carting around right now, his title shot? Because the briefcase...
He's the G1 champion.
Yeah, but at least in briefcase rules... You have to defend it.
I would win, but you don't anymore because they already made the match for Wrestle Kingdom.
You don't have to defend it again. You only have to defend it against people who beat you in the G1. That's the G1 rule.
Right.
And he only lost to Tamatonga. But no, I think if they're going to do Okada versus Danielson, just do Okada versus Daniel.
Yeah.
All you have to say is, this guy is one of the best wrestlers in the world. This guy is one of the best wrestlers in the world. I'm doing the Rainmaker pose right now. Why am I doing this?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that would be a good program to pivot toward. It gives Danielson something to really sink his teeth into. And man, he has been so much fun to watch over the last month or so. So yeah, I'd be up for that. I think like we said earlier, if he's going to have a first loss, might as well be to Miro, who is doing the best work of his career.
Yeah.
He has been just amazing to watch.
Yep. All right. What's up next?
Next we have Lucha Bros versus FTR. I think we all know that Lucha Bros are winning this. They are going to get some notches on their defenses. Yeah. My feeling is FTR got shafted by losing the titles at last year's Full Gear, when personally I think the story would not have changed if they held off on FTR versus Young Bucks until 2021's Revolution. Because you know what the Bucks match, the title match was at Revolution? It was the Young Bucks versus MJF and Jericho. We didn't need that.
I don't disagree. The Bucks actually wanted to hold off. It was Tony Khan that pushed for.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say this is the Bucks' fault, but I think.
Oh yeah.
The result is that FTR are a team that for a very long time have not felt legitimate because they won the titles and dropped them within the span of a pay-per-view.
Well, and so the weird thing is to me that on the same token, that the Lucha Brothers feel like they haven't gotten to do very much in their title reign.
Yes,
like, I think it's been like a couple weeks since we saw them in a promo, let alone in a match.
They did a bunch of multi-man matches.
Yeah.
More than they did like actual tag team matches.
Yeah, like even, I don't care if it's like a title defense on AEW that they're obviously squashing the opponent like TH2 or something. Or, you know, the Butcher and the Blade. But it's so weird to me that it feels like they've done basically nothing. So for once, there's a tag team match where I have my feelings about the people involved, but I just feel like there's no story here. Like
So,
the story is
The story
like, you know
is FTR stole the AAA title from the
Yeah.
Lucha.
Yeah, but it's
I
just
really
so
enjoyed
weird.
that. And so that's the other thing. FTR already got their win in the feud.
Yeah.
The Lucha Bros need to bite back now.
Yeah. It's just weird that it feels like we haven't really had anything to follow that up.
How's your feeling on this, Will?
I think FTR needs some credibility beyond, basically their ability to come in and be a heavy. But they got the AAA titles. I would probably be fine either way on this one. I think it's going to be a fantastic match.
Oh yeah,
and I really hope they get the time to really show what they can do.
Yeah, their match on TV was already really good.
yeah.
I hope that, like, my hope here is Lucha Brothers win, and then we get to see more of them as, like, because they should be dominant champs, like, at All Out. They were so over.
You will never hear how loud it was in that building.
Like, the entire time, from the moment that the Fire first started with their entrance to the very end, people were so there for the Lucha Brothers, and I just haven't felt like, I think that's why I'm frustrated.
Well, listen, you'll never replicate that. So,
like, I think that's why I've been so frustrated, is I just haven't felt that, like, just genuine babyface, like, power coming from the way they've been booked. So I'm hoping that they win here, but the in such a way that FTR still looks very credible, and that this sets up a feud going forward.
AEW's great at doing that.
Oh yeah, totally. I just, like, I want more of the Lucha Brothers because they deserve it. Like, they're so good.
Yeah. So yeah, I saw the Lucha Bros in New York, and quite honestly, they did an 8-man tag team with Santana and Ortiz versus, I think, the HFO.
Sure, sure.
That's exactly it. They haven't had a memorable program between winning the titles and what they're doing now. And right now, what they're doing is not super memorable. Beyond that, it's FTR.
Yeah. I do.
FTR have had so much more screen time than them. This whole feud.
And it's really frustrating. I don't think that Alex Abrahantes is doing them any favors either. Like, I know the whole thing is Penta says, but, like, Ray can speak English. like Ray's English is arguably better than Andrade's, and that's not to say Andrade's is bad. I'm just saying, like, why is it Penta says, and why is Ray not fucking speaking? Like, it's so weird, because Charlie and I watched a documentary with Ray, and he was, like, speaking English, wasn't he?
Yeah. I mean, it's not like, that has nothing to do with how much promo time you have.
Yeah, it's just like the whole booking.
I mean, they'll get it. They'll get into it. Just remember, the booking between All Out and Full Gear is like 2 months and some change.
It is the hardest.
It is the shortest window where you have to.
I don't understand why they don't just put Full Gear in December. Yeah. Honestly.
I don't know.
Then that would encroach on Fight for the Fallen, I guess, but
no, that happens in
or Winter is Coming.
But, like, we can just do Winter is Coming in January. I don't know. There's a way to do it.
What's up next?
You gotta have Labor Day and Thanksgiving. Those are the rules.
Up next, I'm gonna go with the breather match, which is the Inner Circle versus America's Top Team. Which,
I don't care.
Yeah, Will, I'm curious what your take is on this, because you generally seem to go from an opposite angle from most of us. With what you like in wrestling, not that it's bad, just I genuinely value that people like different things.
It's not intentional, right? I'm not contrarian. I will say, I don't know, 3 or 4 weeks ago when the angle was, the Inner Circle gets to pick the members of American Top Team. I'm like, they're going to pick Dan Lambert, aren't they? They're going to pick Dan Lambert. So I felt real fucking smart when, they finally picked Dan Lambert. So I think the outcome here is, are they going to continue this program?
No.
No.
I think if this is the end of it, I think you put over Inner Circle. Dan Lambert eats, I don't know, a fistful of shit. And
how many
you're
bumps
done
do you
with
think
it.
he takes, Will?
At least one good one.
Yeah.
Like one solid one where you're like,
he takes
damn,
one
he
bump
should.
where everyone is like, wow, I didn't expect that from Dan Lambert.
Yeah. But if you want to continue this into maybe some kind of singles feud, if you want to put Junior Dos Santos in a match against one of them, if you want to put Paige Van Sant into some match somewhere, somehow, you probably put over Men of the Year and American Top Team. But again, this is another match where I think you could go either way.
Yeah.
Certainly the Inner Circle has shown a willingness to lose and put people over in service of an eventual win at the end. So I really don't know. I don't know what the overall plan is here, and I think it could go either way.
I'm gonna be taking my sip of my drink and eat my food during this match. I don't care what happens.
My feeling is just that I think American Top Team wins for basically all the reasons you said, Will, where Junior Dos Santos seems to like wrestling, and Paige Van Zant seems very well suited for wrestling. And I think it would be honestly a missed opportunity to not do more with them. As annoying as Dan Lambert's promos are, I think that this entire feud hinged around the moment where they pick him to be in the match. And I think he sold that really well.
Yep.
Where he literally just started crying like a baby.
He has gotten away from the really offensive shit in his promos, and he has gotten away from the counterproductive stuff, talking about like, AEW pushing like small guys. Yeah. And that's not to say that we can't like forget about all of the wrong directions he's gone, but really focusing on getting heat on himself, getting like the right amount of heat. Like he gets booed out of the building. Like it's not the typical WWE, oh, look, I'm playing annoying. Like he is really good at generating honest to goodness butts and seats heat.
Yeah. The pop when Jericho said Dan Lambert's name was ridiculous.
Yeah. I had the TV muted.
At the very least, at the very least, the crowd is going to be hot for this match, because that was another thing. When they showed up at Arthur Ashe, the crowd knew who every single one of those people in American Top Team were. I still don't know half of their names because I'm not an MMA guy. It's just not my thing. But they knew right away when Masvidal showed up. They started asking about someone who Masvidal was going to fight soon. They asked, like, is he going to show up now? And I was like, who are these people? What's happening?
I don't know. Yeah.
But like, I think it's a smart move from AEW to kind of court that, because you're never going to convince people that wrestling's like real. And I don't think you need to. I think that's silly, but you can convince them that it's interesting by having people whose names they recognize there.
Yeah. And I do think it's better than just having Jake Hager and have him do like a fake Bellator match.
Exactly.
Like that isn't going to be it either. Like I think that was a worthy endeavor if it was anyone other than Jake Hager. But like, even not only because he's an asshole, apparently they like padded his match statistics. That's why he's undefeated. They essentially sent some semi-pro people after him, and then he kind of ran with tail between his legs at his first actual opponent.
Yeah, he's got some DQs in there. It's some real shit.
Yeah. I don't think this is a cinematic match like someone in chat asked. I don't.
No, I think AEW is done with cinematic matches. One of my friends was at Double or Nothing, where they had the Stadium Stampede with the Inner Circle and the Pinnacle. Yeah. And he was basically like, this sucked to watch live because the first 80% of the match was just watching on a very tiny screen in Daly's place
as the main event, so it's like late.
And this was the last thing. The crowd was not hot.
It's like 11 p.m.
I think they're done with cinematic matches. I think they were a very good like set piece of the pandemic era, and I think with crowds back fully, we're past them.
Yeah, or like have them very short as like a buy-in thing or something like that.
A buy-in works. Yeah.
What's next?
What's next is Darby Allin versus MJF. Oh, sorry.
I do think I do think it's Inner Circle. Someone in chat says the Inner Circle break, if they lose, they could break up due to the rifts. I just don't think Jericho does that. Honestly, I think the thing that's holding, I don't like Dan Lambert for heat reasons as well as things he said reasons, but the whole thing that feels like it's been holding this feud back has actually been Jericho. And in the couple most recent promos, Jericho has been the one to say like ableist or homophobic things, like saying who it's America's top team, so who's on top? It's just like unnecessary, and doing all the slut shaming with Paige Van Zant. So I think it's like I know they're gonna win, but man, I just wish Chris Jericho would self-edit. That's what I got here. But
my feeling is that they're going to have the very cathartic moment of Jericho beating the shit out of Dan Lambert, and then Ethan Page or someone is gonna like hit him with a low blow. And
I hope so. That would at least be good to have on in the background.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we've set up the stakes here, right? At the last show, they said Dan Lambert is going to pin Chris Jericho, and I really wouldn't be surprised if that happens.
Yeah, I could see them sticking to that while all have your cake and eat it too. They're going to have Dan Lambert get the crap kicked out of him, and they're going to have Dan Lambert pin Chris Jericho.
Oh yeah,
I think you can do that.
Relevant
the next
to chat,
match.
I did read what was said about Paige Van Zant.
Yeah, we're not going into it. So MJF versus Darby. I'm gonna just say Darby wins. Darby wins.
Darby wins.
He
put in his time
MJF
against Punk,
wins, but no, I think this is the point where Wardlow and MJF have a split, and I think that happens because MJF is abusing Wardlow after he loses.
Yes.
Yeah. I could even see
that.
It would be actually kind of fun. I don't think this is necessarily going to happen, but if MJF throws in the towel because he's worried Wardlow is going to lose.
Oh,
you
for
mean Wardlow throws in the towel?
Yeah. Oh, you mean what you like? You mean?
Oh yeah.
I mean, Wardlow screwing MJF out of the win sounds like a perfect nobody actually loses here situation.
And it would be poetic, kind of like a poetic thing after that being the whole Cody feud. I don't know. It could be interesting.
Yeah, they'll find a way.
My feeling on this match is that Darby has not sold any of it for me. Like, I think MJF's done a little, like, not great stuff in some of his promos, but for the most part, when he aims at Darby, he says some really good stuff that, like, makes the feud seem worthwhile. And Darby is just not good enough on the mic to sell that for me. He like very early on he said this whole thing about how you will not break me mentally, and the entire time I was just unconvinced by it all. Like it felt like he was saying lines that were given to him and not anything that he felt. And I think that's Darby for a very long time was silent, said very little, like was very brusque, and I think that fit his like kind of moody goth persona better than like trying, not even going toe for toe, but just trying to like speak to MJF, who for his flaws in a lot of what he says is very good at delivery.
Yeah, I mean Darby is I think Darby's work in the ring more than makes up for any lacking in his promos for me.
Yeah.
Like just
no,
the way
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I just think the feud is suffering for it.
Yeah,
Rather than
I think much more interesting is Wardlow and MJF, which has been cooking in the background for some time. So vectors to getting to that. I'm sure it'll be good because both of these guys are actually good in the ring. So I'll put it on and we'll have a good time.
I think we've all come to the consensus of Darby, which is nice.
Yeah.
Next, Pac and Cody Rhodes versus Malachi Black and Andrade El Idolo. Or as I like to call it, NXT TakeOver.
But can Pac and Cody Rhodes coexist?
I mean, no, yeah, I think Malachi and Andrade win because Pac's going to turn on Cody.
Interesting.
I think I don't even think Pac might join them. I think that would be a really interesting turn, but I don't think that needs to be the case. Although, like, again, he's not... Lucha Bros and Pac, Death Triangle, have not really been, like, visibly around each other as of late. Lucha Bros showed up to defend him yesterday, but otherwise nothing much.
I think this works if Pac. I mean, Pac is very much can't play well with others. So him and Cody having a dysfunction at the junction certainly seems like something that could happen.
Yeah, and I think also it just plays into Malachi's own promos about Caesar, about how like it wasn't just one or two people who turned on Caesar, it was everyone.
Yeah.
And I think it just, Cody himself is going to be so unlikable that even his tag partner is like, you know what, fuck you.
Yeah.
Pac's not known for having a good disposition
Or suffering fools.
Yeah, or suffering fools lightly, as they say. So I think Malachi and Andrade win this.
How about you, Will?
So it'll be really good. Like, I have no doubt in my mind. I'm really excited to see like Malachi and Andrade like work as a tag team. Like that sounds rad. That sounds rad to me. I've seen these guys wrestle each other enough, so let's see what they can do together. Well, what you got on this one?
I think for story reasons, you want to see Black and Andrade go over here, continuing the saga of Cody Rhodes. And I hadn't really considered Pac turning on him. I know there's that line about the betrayals from who you'd least expect it. I kind of was thinking Arn here.
Oh, no.
Arn pulls out the Glock at long last.
Yeah, I honestly don't think that Pac turns on Cody. I think it's just they can't agree on a course of action. Like, Cody still thinks like, he still thinks he's being the good guy, and then Pac is just like, I don't know what you think you've gotten yourself into here. So I think it's more like not a comedy of errors necessarily, but like wow, these like two really dysfunctional guys, right?
Yeah, I think that's kind of where I was leaning as well. Not like a Pac joins up with the NXT guys, but like when Moxley paradigm shifted Pac and left him to get pinned in the ring.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's a great way to have Cody lose, but not have it be like another loss in the series or anything like that.
Tag team. That's kind of what tag team matches are for.
Yeah.
So
I'm fascinated by the fact that for a company as tag team heavy as AEW is, this is a tag match of no actual like real tag teams.
Yeah.
This is a bunch of individuals. Very interesting stuff. Next, we can speed through this one because we all know the answer. Britt Baker versus Ty Conti. Britt wins.
Britt wins.
Yeah, I've come around to your line of thinking, Vishal. I like Tay a lot, but it just hasn't felt like the heat is here. Like, this doesn't feel like Britt's,
this is the Kenny Omega versus Christian of Britt Baker's title reign.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Like, I can't understate how much I like Ty Conti. I just don't think this is it. Like,
it's not her time yet. She'll get there.
Let's hope that it's a great match.
Yeah, I think it'll be a great match. I think it will be a way to really get her even more over so she can go in like a main event type match. And I think that's great for her, especially considering where she was like, a little over a year ago in like fucking NXT.
Yeah.
Like, not that NXT was bad. It was just not a good environment for her as a wrestler.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Consensus rules on this one.
Yeah. Next, we got the Super Click versus Jurassic Express. And I'm including Christian in Jurassic Express because he is a dinosaur.
Burn.
Rip. Okay.
Is this finally where we pull the trigger on Christian turning on Jungle Boy?
I think it's both that, and I think it's the Super Click wins when Kenny loses, and that splits up the Elite. I think that just by the one result, you have two very strong stories.
Oh, that's a fun 1-2 punch. I didn't consider that, but I think I'm gonna go with that, Vishal.
I mean, I honestly, I know I was joking a little bit about it before, but I really do believe that, like, Christian giving the concerto to Adam, like, that's not, like, say what you will about the concerto in the rider space, but, like, sandwiching someone's head between two steel chairs and hitting it, that's nasty.
Outside of the ring.
Like, I think Christian's just a little, he's more of a nasty, rowdy boy than either Jungle Boy or Luchasaurus is. So I think he's willing to go places and do things, and I maybe think that plays a little bit into maybe what will cause some friction in that match, and then cause the Super Click to win. It'll be delightful for me to watch it.
I mean, I think also Jungle Boy is going to get brutally mauled by Bobby Fish and
Yes.
not going to have, like, the same way Adam Cole was concussed the entirety of his match with John Silver. It's going to be a similar.
Yeah.
But consider Jungle Boy's beard. That's nasty
and rowdy.
Thanks, Vetaman.
Yeah.
And two, we have seen Christian de-emphasized over the past, we'll say, month.
Yeah.
And that might be a pretty good time to turn him if we're going to turn him.
Yeah.
Bring
And
the
Christian's
heat back.
Christian's a really good heel.
Yeah. And also that's a fun bit of parallelism between where Edge was at the show that we won't mention the name of and Christian here. Like, they have, like, it's so wild to think that men that literally started their careers being like, yeah, man, yeah, bro, like, I got some really cool sunglasses, isn't that rad? Like, to being some of the, like, most fearsome, like, they can just turn that switch from, yeah, we're all here to have good fun, to being, like, absolutely bloodthirsty, and it's so great.
Yeah, I'm I thought of something a little cursed in the
Oh, no.
Well, now you got to share.
I a little cursed in the world that I occupy half my feet, or I'm half in, half out. But for the kind of the pushing forward of the Kenny and Adam and the Bucks and all that jazz, I thought about what if the Super Click just come out in matching gear? That one is gonna be a little like that little nugget will turn the dial a little bit.
They all come out in Adam Cole themed gear.
Hey, I don't know. Have you seen the way that Matt has Matt's been looking
leather
at Adam
jackets.
lately?
Like, yeah.
Yeah. Have you
whole
seen the
deal.
way that they've been looking at Adam since he showed up? I wouldn't be surprised.
All black and gold.
Let's do it. No, I
right.
think it'll be a good fun time.
Two more matches. We got CM Punk versus Eddie Kingston.
We talked
where
about it earlier.
We talked
Eddie.
about it. We all feel Eddie's gonna win.
Yeah.
I will say I think Eddie should win, but I think Punk is going to win.
Okay.
Fair.
I can see that as well.
That's the safest route to go.
It is. Yeah. I think you can easily do, like, people boo, not a double turn, but just like people boo Punk.
You
for
could do
beating
it. You
their
could do
beloved
the
Eddie
double
Kingston.
turn. Yeah. I mean, Punk is such a Bret Hart mark.
Yeah.
You could do the double turn.
I think Punk doing the sharpshooter spot with Eddie would be ridiculous.
Love it.
Eddie refusing to tap, passing out.
Passing out, blood drenched in blood.
And then Punk hitting the go to sleep and pinning him. Very good.
Well, and that would be really good, because then it's like, well, we, like, regardless, we still don't have the happy-go-lucky Punk that he was acting like he was.
Yeah.
Like, he
Yeah,
comes
and
out of
I
this
wouldn't
a
be
changed
surprised if they decide to protect one of Danielson and Punk, because having them both have their first loss on the same night is a bit much.
That is true.
Yeah.
That is true. But we'll see.
We'll see.
And lastly, the only title match to change hands, Kenny Omega versus Hangman Adam Page. If you think another outcome is happening, I don't know what to tell you other than,
Like,
if you're right, AEW is bad at booking.
It's something that needs to have a
Happen?
shred of doubt in it.
Yeah.
Like, you need to believe for a second that Kenny could win, or else it doesn't work. But logically, booking wise,
Predictable doesn't mean bad.
yeah.
Yeah,
No,
predictable
not at
ending
all.
doesn't mean predictable match.
Yeah. The match the match, and I don't want to layer expectations on it, right? Because that's just setting yourself up for disappointment. But how can it be? Like, how can it be anything than what we thought it should be all along? Like, I mean, Kenny's going to turn it up to 11.
On, like, a sampler of it, a 20-minute sampler of it at last year's Full Gear.
Yeah, Kenny's going to turn it up to 11. Hangman's going to turn it up to 11, and then we'll get where we're going, and like, it will be really great. It will. The finish, I'm sure, will be great. I think I know what I want the finish to be. I want Hangman to hit that one-winged angel on Kenny. I want 1, 2, 3.
Ooh,
Kenny.
That'd be good.
I don't want Hangman to win with the one-winged angel, is my take, because I think that, again, much like Will said, you gotta have the classic. You gotta have the entrance for this match. You can't mess it up. You can't have Hangman win without the buckshot. He needs to hit it. Kenny needs to flip 270 degrees. Like,
just turn gravity off.
This needs to be the most satisfying buckshot lariat that has ever landed.
Yeah,
I'm so conflicted about one winged angel kick out.
I'm firmly in camp no.
I genuinely hope Kenny attempts it and just can't fucking get it, so we don't have a kick out.
I think the very easy solution is he hits the one-winged angel and Hangman gets his foot on the ropes.
The rope, yeah.
That's something they've done in the past.
Or
that's
like
not
a roll,
a kick out.
or maybe a roll out of the, something happens and you go.
Or he tries to do it because it's not a falls count anywhere. So if he does it on the apron to Hangman just to hurt him, and then they all go tumbling down. I could see that.
I'm fine with the pin not happening after the one-winged angel. I'm firmly in camp. No one kicks out of the one-winged angel that's not named Kota Ibushi. And that's just because, I don't think it would have the weight if it wasn't, if that specific item was not a very poignant part of that story.
A piece of
he's the only one who's ever done it.
Well, and Hangman, is talked about him.
Yeah, and if he hadn't brought it up, I would say, we're closer to that happening. And yeah, the pop would be satisfying. Don't get me wrong. I wouldn't enjoy it, but the crowd would have their good old time. But for me, the tension in the one-winged angel and the opponent outsmarting Kenny, to me, is being savvy enough to stay out of it, not letting Kenny hit it, not getting trapped up there.
On your shoulders.
Yeah.
I'm of two minds on it, because on one hand, yes. On the other, I just don't like that if it happens, Kenny can just be like, you won because I didn't get to hit my move.
Yeah.
I don't like that being a possibility.
Or something that Smarks will talk about.
Rope break, or something like that. Just
give him the Okada treatment. Get your foot on the rope, at the one winged, do it.
Exactly.
There are ways out of it, and I think they'll innovate it. I don't think Kenny won't hit it. I just think it will go awry. I don't think there will be a kick out. I don't actually think there's a need for one. But
I'll also say, I'm not going to complain if there's a kick out. I honestly kind of hope there is one personally, because I think we will see a Styles Clash. I think we might even see a Bloody Sunday. I think Kenny will pull out his bag of tricks and to put Hangman away if he can't do it right away.
Because that's what Kenny does.
That's what Kenny does.
He does other people's moves and claims that it was I just did it because I needed a cool move.
I was just doing it because
taking all the weapons out of the toy box.
Yeah, he's just he'll just start pulling things out of his box of tricks. Will we see the Phoenix Splash again? Yes. Will he miss it again? Yes. Will we see maybe Kamigoye? Maybe.
Kenny's hubris.
Yeah, Kenny's hubris. It will be his undoing. I'm really looking forward to this one. It will be however long it's going to be, and I'll be on the edge of my seat the entire time.
Yeah. I do think like, as much as I love NJPW style matches, I know, like, and this is why I brought it up earlier, Vishal, that I know you're not like a big fan of how they book them sometimes, like the 30-minute classics or, you know, however long, like with the multiple false falls and stuff like that. I am excited to see a true Kenny match that is a main event match for the first time in a long time, but where I know I'm not going to get that, like, that New Japan style, oh, there's a, you know.
Someone described NXT as the style, like Triple H era NXT, as like, oh, he hit the super fuck you Calamitator 3000. Oh my God, he kicked out. Now he has to hit the super fuck you Calamitator 4000. And I think New Japan does something very similar where, to me, the beauty, like what Charlie said about getting out of the one-winged angel, to me, the beauty of a lot of false finish or like almost pinfall segments to me is escaping the finisher instead of tanking it.
Yeah. For me, when I think about that, I think about Okada's foot on the rope, and I also think about Punk hitting the GTS at Money in the Bank 2011 against John Cena and John rolling out of the ring.
Yeah.
I wish the one-winged angel had more of an angle for that to happen, but he really just kind of sits on top of the guy once he's done.
I do.
Hey, if you get creative enough, anything can happen.
It's true.
It's true.
Kenny just needs to be a little tired and forget to sit down.
Yeah, I do think the way NJPW does it, like, in a very formulaic fashion by just trading false finishes for like 15 minutes, like, it's gotten to the point of like laughable formulaicness, if that makes sense. So
this is why I liked Okada versus Tama Tonga at the Chi one, because the last 5 minutes were like Tama Tonga evading the Rainmaker and Okada evading the gun stun over and over again. Neither of them actually landed it. And then Tama Tonga hit the gun stun, which for you, Will, is literally just the RKO. But he hit it out of nowhere. Okada put him in, was getting him up for the tombstone, and Tama Tonga flipped over and hit him with the gun stun and won it with the one. And that works really well. That's how you make a finish matter, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I just think these guys will innovate in, like, it can't be overstated how much Kenny has kept in his bag this entire time he's been in AEW. So we're about to see it, and I'm excited to see it.
If this isn't Kenny Omega's best singles match in AEW, what are we even doing
here? Yeah. Like, he's been keeping it.
Maybe his one against Mox.
That doesn't count. Yeah, that one isn't.
It was unsanctioned. It's not on the books.
Listen, he would tell you it doesn't count. So, you know.
He actually didn't say that. He said, I really loved this match, but I lost, so I don't want to talk about it.
I mean, let me talk about how Kenny just existing and saying that something he didn't like happening, that happened, he's just no selling it like it didn't happen at all, is a really big mood. This ruined my day. It didn't whatever, it didn't happen. I don't care.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. That's why NXT 2.0 doesn't really exist to me.
Nope. 2. What?
Yeah. Will, what do you think about this, Will?
So I am most curious for basically what happens after, because I think AEW has developed a culture of, it's the main event, we have a finish, well then what comes next, right?
Which is what you should want, you know?
Yeah. And they've all been big storyline acquisitions or developments. Like, you know, there was the show where Moxley debuted. The last show, we had Bryan Danielson and Adam Cole debut. So I would be interested to see, one, we close the show maybe hinting at peril for new champion Hangman Adam Page. And I would be curious to see what direction that is, because you know, AEW has shown you can have multiple title contenders, right? Mm-hmm. The winner of the Eliminator tournament has some other championship opportunity, to borrow that WWE language. Doesn't have to be the next title contender they go right to. You know, maybe we close the show, and look, I booked this right now thinking about this. Maybe we debut Wyndham Rotunda at the end of the show. because I think that would be an interesting feud, assuming he plays, the first iteration of Bray Wyatt 2.0. And I'm not saying it has to be that. I'm not saying that that's what I'm expecting, but someone who is immediately challenging Paige and is a real threat to Paige. I think that would be an interesting way to close the show. Or you could have Elite Trouble closing the show. You could just have a simple, I think the most basic thing you could do would be, Miro coming down to confront Paige. But I would be looking for.
I love the idea. I mean, Hangman's going to get his time, but I love the idea. And Joe, my friend Joe, who was previously in chat, said this earlier to me today. What if when Kenny loses the belt, he just laughs like this burden has been gone. It's gone now. I'm really here for Kenny that is just unspooled, so far down the rabbit hole it's not even funny. But I think we're at the juncture point of Kenny not turning face right away, but I think the key to getting him back there is all this drama that's happening. You can make Adam Cole a really big villain. He was designed to be that. Make him that.
Preeminent dirtbag Adam Cole.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's interesting. I'm very interested to see what Don's relationship with Kenny is when he doesn't have the belt.
Do they turn on each other?
So I don't think that works just because Don and Kenny have had a relationship a lot longer than AEW, and I think it's cheap to throw that away for a title feud, essentially, or for a title story.
I think it's cheap to maybe throw it away at the time, instantly, but I do think...
I think Don just stops showing up when he doesn't have a champion to represent.
Yeah, I also do think that somebody gets to kick that man in the face because he deserves it. So, I mean, maybe, you know what? Take one for the team, Don Callis. You get your ass buckshot, Larry in the ring.
So I think, and obviously this is also me fantasy booking the shit out of stuff, but my hope for who shows up just in general this pay-per-view, it would be great if Britt wins and then Athena / Ember Moon / whoever she wants to be.
She can.
I mean,
she can opt not to take.
That's true.
None of them have, and I don't think they would, just because that's saying I don't want to get paid by you for this period. That's leaving money on the table.
That's true. I want what I want.
You can have what you want. I mean, you can get it at some point in time. You're just not going to get it now.
She'll be available by the next pay-per-view. It's fine.
Yeah,
that's true. That's true.
Yeah, I'm interested to see this relationship with Don because it's, even though it goes back farther, obviously, than what's happening in AEW, Don's poisoned the well that is Kenny Omega, and he needs to Kenny needs to realize that. Everyone around him at one time or another realized it before they started drinking the Kool-Aid too. So I think I need something around that to break down. Because I need Kenny to be Kenny, because Kenny's inside. The little Kenny's inside. He needs to come out.
I do agree.
Kenny.
Yeah,
I do agree with Mark though. I would like to see the Carney piece of shit get his head kicked in.
Mm-hmm.
I think it would be great if he's lying there crumpled on the floor after Hangman's kind of done with him, and Kenny's like, Don, you were supposed to help me, Don.
Because he was Kenny decided that night he got in the stupid black SUV at All Out 2020 that this is the road he was walking down and who he was walking down it with. So you reap what you sow, and Kenny's about to reap what he has sown.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's definitely going to be interesting no matter what happens. I think.
Yeah.
Aside from,
I don't know if they do an angle after the match. Quite honestly,
I don't think they do. I think they give. Weird. I think they give Hangman his title.
I think if someone shows up,
crown him.
Yeah, I think if someone shows up, it's before the main event.
Yeah.
If you get a new face, it's for something else.
Maybe Miro can just be on the ramp. Like, I don't need them to interact. Like, maybe they're just like,
Or standing in the tunnel.
Yeah, there's just something there.
I feel like that. Did that happen at some pay-per-view? I feel like I specifically remember.
It did.
Like,
Hangman stood in the tunnel.
Hangman stood in that tunnel.
Yes, that's what I was thinking of. Yeah.
Hangman forlornly hanging out in the tunnel.
Yeah. Do something like that. I think they'll do Miro just because Miro is specifically the next in line immediately, and they're going to want to be like, hey, that match you watched at the beginning of the show matters.
Yep.
Yeah.
But also, like, I can't imagine they do no angle, because you always want to say, watch the next episode.
Yeah.
Like, show up on Wednesday, you're going to want to see this.
Yep. I agree.
Cat stuff happening
In the background. Yeah, they're like barging into the door like small children.
We have been going for almost 3 hours at this point.
Hey, we had a lot to talk about.
We did, and we got through all our predictions. So yay us! First stream.
Thank you everyone for sticking around and listening to us talk about the wrestling. If you liked doing this, we'll do it more. This VOD will be available for the watching afterward, so you can absolutely watch it if you weren't here.
I think I forgot to turn VODs on Twitch, but it will be up on YouTube.
It'll be on YouTube. Anyway, thank you so much for coming. If you liked this, please subscribe to Comics X Fight on Twitch. You can also find us on Comics X Fight on Twitter. You can also find us at Comics X Fight on YouTube. Please, if you watch it there, hit the thumbs up button, like and subscribe to that channel. That is currently where all of our things are going. If you like what we talk about here, I had an article that I wrote about Hangman and Kenneth Omega up at Gatecrashers today.
It's a good one.
I wrote a lot, and I was writing, and I'm like, I didn't even fit in everything that was happening here. But I'm really proud of that one, so go ahead and read it. It'll be in the description on the VOD on YouTube. I am Charlie. You can find me at Genetic Ghost on, that place on Twitter.
The Bird app.
That Bird app that I pay $2.99 for now, just to see what's going on Twitter Blue. Anyway, that's me. Mikey, you want to go?
Yeah, you can find me at quantum ... on Twitter, where I talk about wrestling and post a lot of pictures of the gremlins that are trying to get in this room.
It's true.
And I'm at Will Nevin on Twitter Blue, because I too have $3 a month to burn. And you can follow my feed for comic stuff and wrestling stuff and all the random shitty thoughts that pop into my brain.
They're good thoughts.
You can follow me at vgola87 on Twitter, where I don't think I talk about comics or wrestling, but I do track the video games I'm playing, because I'm playing so many video games. God help me.
Yeah, please help everyone. We'll have more content next week, where we'll have talked about what has happened at Full Gear, and I don't know what's going to happen at Full Gear, so if we were wrong about this, ignore it.
We'll fix it in post.
Yeah, if Kenny Omega somehow does walk out of Full Gear, the AEW champion, we'll be like, well,
egg on our faces.
Really screwed that one.
I'll get one of those
okay, look,
TikTok
I already
overlays.
have the egg on my face from all the Cody shit. I'm okay with more.
It's true. We'll work through it. Well, we'll get there. But thanks to everybody who was watching. Have a good evening and enjoy the old pay-per-view on Saturday. Bye.
Bye. Can you take us to card using the fancy machine?